Another day passed. Under Ma Chi-siu's arrangement, Van Han officially started her job, but before she had even worked a full day she received a notice that the company was about to hold an employee welfare trip and everyone would be going out together. Ma Chi-siu asked whether she would go along or take a few days off and return to work afterward, and based on past experience that the boss might disappear after they returned, Van Han firmly chose to go, which Ma Chi-siu cheerfully approved. Back home she solemnly told her family, "I am going on a trip and at most a week I will be back. You at home alone must be good and do not miss me too much." To which Tu Dui, who wanted to crawl into the suitcase to stealthily go along, lowered his head, turned his face aside, and felt too sad to talk, until Van Han leaned close, pressed a finger to the corner of his mouth and lifted it so that a reluctant, conscience-defying smile appeared before her eyes, and he bargained, "After you come back you must set aside a whole day for me," which she readily agreed to. Then he added, "Pick any day, after dinner we go out and stroll the streets," which she also agreed to, and finally he said, "Next time you travel you must take me." Leaving Van Han puzzled, she pondered, she suspected, she pinched the little pup's chin and sternly questioned, "Are you acting out a script you wrote for me?" For he did not actually want to stop her from leaving but pretended to be heartbroken to win benefits, while he sighed inwardly that his partner was too clever and any little trick would be exposed, so he put on an innocent face, wrapped his arms around her, and coquettishly pled, "I cannot bear to part from you," making Van Han speechless, for what fault does a little pup have when he simply does not want to be home alone, and if she did not go out he would not need to act, so she compromised, "The trip stands, but when I return we will spend the weekend playing nearby," and he murmured assent, lowering his head while the smile at his lips could not be hidden, feeling clearly that he was loved. At the end of April the weather was hot like a furnace, the sun hung high and baked the earth. On the bus, even when wind blew there was no hint of coolness, only waves of heat, and a big sister over 40 fanned her forehead with a small fan and complained that the weather this year was strange, that last year around now summer had only just begun, whereas this year felt like those 2 hottest months had already arrived, and that it was already 40 degrees Celsius, and if the temperature climbed further how would people live? To which an aunt over 50 offered a theoretically sound but practically difficult suggestion to improve one's physique attribute, saying hers was 1.5 so she could now endure heat and felt better than last summer. The big sister rolled her eyes, thinking, "Do you think I refused to improve just because I did not want to? Just as when I was a student I did not skip the top 3 federal universities because I did not want to go, all of it empty talk," and the heat had drained even the energy to argue, so she lazed and gave up. "Look quickly, a lake, so beautiful," cried a young girl nearby, marveling that the water was crystal clear like a teal gemstone, but the big sister felt nothing but heat and even wondered whether she was simply getting old with poorer energy and weaker tolerance, except the aunt over 50 looked lively while admiring the view, proving age was not absolute. The big sister leaned back to catch a nap, while Van Han sat in a corner gazing out the window as if at an inkwash landscape. The girls nearby nudged one another yet none dared step up to greet, so they fled into a group chat to spam, marveling who the pretty sister was and whether she was from their company. One person deduced that since the bus was chartered, everyone was on the company trip, and there were multiple departments, it was reasonable not to know faces from other departments, whereupon a self-styled face connoisseur protested that for any beauty in the company regardless of gender she knew them all, vowing within a minute to uncover the newcomer's full dossier with a flurry of playful emotes. Still no one knew until over 10 minutes later someone ventured that her name was Van Han and she was a psychic attribute esper, which moved the group to demand details, but the leaker confessed ignorance beyond that. Ma, the deputy general manager, had brought her in saying she stopped him from buying baked flatbread and saved his whole family, and that the onboarding paperwork had been processed with help just the day before the trip. Cries erupted asking whether it was that poison flatbread case, recalling the bakery's strong business and that without a passerby's timely warning at least 100 people might have suffered, praising the pretty sister's beauty and kind heart, drawing a scolding from the knowledge sharer who said beauty knows no gender and that appreciating a pretty sister is like appreciating beautiful mountains and waters, that imagining one could see her at work tomorrow made mornings easier, and even that although they could not usually lift heavy things, if a fire broke out and the pretty sister was inside they would hoist her and run, telling herself that after months of danger fraying everyone's nerves a little craziness was normal and did not affect work, namely overtime. The leaker went offline. The chicken-hearted group debated and debated without a plan, while the furtive glances at Van Han, first one, then two, then three, were caught by the subject herself, and feeling the heat at her nape she turned and caught those curious eyes, whereupon the girl thus caught panicked slightly and Van Han smiled kindly. She smiled at me, which surely means she also wants to make friends, the girl declared and decided to go, to the astonishment of the chat, who joked that in broad daylight she must be drunk, that if the genders were reversed, this would warrant a police call, that a smile is just politeness, and that as a fellow social phobic they often grin foolishly when speechless, and suspected the pretty sister forced a smile out of embarrassment. Amid the chatter, the brave girl already sat beside Van Han and, mustering courage, asked whether she truly was a psychic type Esper who had stopped the deputy from buying poisoned flatbread, to which Van Han answered with calm brevity that she had run into it while strolling, which was a tacit admission, and stars lit the girl's eyes as she praised saving so many lives as amazing. Hearing the case mentioned, more people leaned in, saying they had read the news that the poisoner was rotten, that owing money is owing to the public but forcing grandchildren to pay is nonsense. Another lamented that she had lent money before only to watch the borrower buy celebrity merch, attend concerts, and purchase the newest fruit brand phone rather than repay, taking offense when reminded. Just like being accused of stinginess over a little money, and they sympathized with the new customers who only wanted bread yet met disaster, luckily with few casualties and only a dozen or so injured, and thanks to timely specific medicine there were no sequelae. The world is rough and odd people abound, so be careful outside, Van Han sighed, adding that not long before the incident she herself had bought bread there with no issue. Then after one walk outside she returned to find it had become poison, an innocent meeting with calamity, which drew gasps of fright. The first girl then realized it was slipping out of her hands, that though she sat first and spoke first, others had crowded in and she could not cut in, so she glared at them and warned not to listen if they would be scared into nightmares. But the crowd giggled that fear aside they still wanted to hear, because knowing possible mishaps helps prevent them, and soon the group of girls were chirping together, the air quickly turning friendly, and watching their lively teasing. Van Han found it amusing and her mood lightened. After several hours the bus stopped before a hotel, Books. And Ma Chi-siu announced loudly that everyone should rest early because at dawn they would climb the mountain to watch the sunrise, which drew a chorus of groans that a trip that forbids sleeping in is demonic, and that had they known it was a hike they would have stayed to work overtime. Some asked to skip the sunrise, but he insisted they cooperate with the schedule and that there would be free time later, then led the way inside with a face that brooked no bargaining, and people, resigned, hauled their luggage to their rooms and prepared to sleep early. On the first day of Van Han's absence someone missed her already. Chu Dewey sat at his station with vacant eyes staring into nowhere until a supervisor passed and wondered why he had not gone home after hours, and when he glanced at the clock he discovered it was indeed past time, which was strange because he was usually precise to the minute and never stayed a second longer. But today the house was empty and going back was pointless, so he said, "I will stay and work overtime today." "What tasks do you need me to do?" shocking the supervisor as if struck by lightning that he would volunteer overtime, and after a cautious once-over that made him consider sending the man to the hospital for a full check, preferably scanning the brain, he prepared to leave, and the supervisor hurried to block him, protesting that since he had volunteered he could not change his mind, that there was plenty of work and a shortage of hands, and, still nosy, asked what had happened to make him do this. Tu Dewey said nothing, for ordinarily he went home on time to see Van Han, and because she used to have shifts he served as full-time cook at home, so they met in the early mornings and evenings, and even after he changed to a government job, so long as he got off on time and went straight back they could keep the same meeting hours, hence the career change did not affect him, and by the same logic, with Van Han not at home now, going home or staying to work overtime was all the same, since either way he would not see the person he wanted to see, so better to clear the backlog. The psychology was too roundabout to explain and he was too lazy to bother, so he just said, "Let us work," and buried himself in the tasks, which satisfied the supervisor, who cared less about reasons than about a strong hand working seriously, though when he piled a thick stack of files into Tu Dewey's arms the latter, expressionless, shoved them back and said, "Bring them one by one, if you press me I will bolt," leaving the supervisor momentarily stumped before conceding, "Then take the top one first." Wat Luna lay sprawled on the ground, sobbing uncontrollably, and Dan Shasha thought, although she knew the girl had met a scumbag and was crying over a bad man, she still felt a twinge of guilt. Although Chang Hung was a scumbag, he is dead, the straight-shooting male colleagues earnestly consoled. "Although you were deceived, at least you are alive." Wat Luna cried even louder, and Dan Shasha thought, "The comfort is nice, please do not comfort next time, when we're young." Who hasn't gone through a few scumbag romances? Dan Shasha said gravely, in truth she had not, and very likely neither had Van Han, but it did not matter. If the words could console someone then that was enough. Once Chang Hung was found, Luna's tears could not be stopped, and no one mentioned company business. A bunch of people just stood around to watch. Tran Hien looked and shook his head. I said we should not mix emotion into this. Look at those people, thinking themselves big men, rushing in to help and ending up giving help for nothing, wanting to save someone but failing while dragging themselves in, everyone stuck in the syrup and unable to get out. Saving people requires measuring one's strength, forcing it only adds trouble for the police. The rescue team is already busy, yet they must split attention and split manpower to save you first. Does that not delay things? A colleague nearby could not bear it and retorted, if that had been warm water instead of syrup they would have succeeded and brought the person back. If you will not help then fine, do not sneer here. Those who dare risk themselves to save people are heroes even if they fail. What sneer? This is called rational thinking, Tran Hien declared with righteous confidence. Dan Xiaoxiao turned to Van Han. Hear that? Rational thinking. Do not casually save people later. Tran Hien opened his mouth to speak, then felt it unfitting. After a moment's stalemate he turned to gaze at the scenery as if he had heard nothing. Just then someone pointed and hesitantly asked, am I seeing things? That little sugar carving, is that our boss? Everyone? They rubbed their eyes and stared again. It's over, that really is the boss. Several big men howled like wolves, their voices directly drowning out Luna's. Luna went dumb, forgot to cry, staring blankly at them. I have a mortgage to pay and a wife and child to support. How did the boss vanish in less than half a day? After graduation I changed jobs and this one pays the most, has the least work, and the office vibe is the best. Without the boss there is no company and I must go job hunting again. Boo-hoo, office building gone can be found again, work tools can be bought again, but without the boss, how are we supposed to manage? Did you all see clearly? Are you sure it is the boss? Van Han could not make out what the little sugar statue looked like, yet colleagues around had begun to wail, right? If we cry over the wrong person it will be embarrassing, said Dan Xiaoxiao. The boss was not in the company this morning and said he went to the bank. He would come back before the afternoon meeting. Now it is only early afternoon, maybe he is not back yet. Saying that, she took out her phone and called the boss. The ringtone rose from the sugar figurine spot. The phone, likely treated as a relic, had been placed beside the statue. Dan Xiaoxiao lowered the phone, emotions complex. It really is him. What do we do now? They looked at one another with no clue. If it had only been an accident where the injured were pulled out and, after the syrup cooled and granulated, the scene was cleaned and moods tidied, life might have returned to how it was, but with the boss turned into a sugar toy, many things were no longer the same. What about the company? Who takes over? Do workers count as resigning on their own or being laid off? Can we get compensation? Tran Hien rattled off questions, and no one could answer. Everyone felt lost. Someone stared blankly into space. Does this count as spending money to ward off misfortune, throw away the job and pick up a life? And it still feels like a bloody loss. At first, finding a way to live out of certain death, the terror in the heart was intertwined with secret ecstasy. Then one thought the losses to company property were controllable and unrelated to oneself and became a bystander eating melon seeds. But now, with work unsettled, there is a faint ache. This day turned too quickly, shock after shock. Dan Xiaoxiao suddenly recalled a meme online. 1 second ago I had never seen this scene, the next second, this is truly a scene unseen before, she thought. How could syrup leak for no reason, to become so large a disaster and cause so many casualties, and there is no one to take responsibility? The police are busy saving people and may have no time to investigate yet, Van Han guessed. Once the urgency passes they will probe the cause. She was curious whether it was natural calamity or human error, and if some gameplay tricks then how it tampered. Which decent person builds a sugar plant in a residential area? Tran Hien seized on the point. These factories are usually out in the suburbs where fields are wide and people are few, and storing hot syrup must have strict safety standards. Another added, they must have cut corners and violated standards to cause a major incident. If you ask me, such people should be shot. Monsters harming folks, so many dead. With what do you pay? Even a life for a life is not enough. How many lives has he got to pay for so many? Those who died by an unforeseen accident, will their families receive compensation? At least their loved ones might live a little better. The talk drifted to money, and Tran Hien led an analysis of how much the families might get and how to pursue claims, leaving the others stunned. Watching the chaos, Van Han sighed inwardly. The game has ended. Settling the aftermath has just begun. On the third day after the incident, the rescue finished and the tally came out. In total more than 60 dead and more than 90 injured. As for damaged cars, ruined houses, and public facilities lost, the financial loss could not be assessed. The cleanup took a full 5 days. Thankfully the sanitation crews worked overtime and other departments added manpower to help. They said that even with the streets scrubbed clean, Walking there, you could still smell a faint sweetness in the air, recalling that syrupy fragrance, sweet. Toothed Van Hun felt aversion for the first time. She opened her computer, browsed official sites one by one, and soon found an explanation of causes. This disaster was both natural and man-made. As suspected, a certain boss Vang, to save money, cut corners, and failed to equip the storage vat according to safety standards, and to compress costs further he secretly placed the sugar vat in a neighborhood, and worse, he exceeded the rated capacity. What should have been split between two vats was crammed into one, which left the storage tank badly stressed and prone to cracking. That day at midday the air temperature spiked, generating a large amount of carbon dioxide inside that compromised the tank and sent all the syrup cascading out, at the worst forming waves as high as 10 meters, thus the tragedy. In the end it was ruled an accident, but the authorities harshly criticized Vaughn for cutting corners and ignoring public safety, ordered him to compensate all victims' economic losses, and to bear corresponding legal responsibility. Accident. Van Han repeated the word. Had she never seen the translucent interface or learned the evolution game existed, perhaps she would accept the report, bury the syrup incident deep in memory, and slowly forget it. But now, rereading the explanation, her gaze stopped at the words. Midday temperature suddenly rose, a vat with hidden danger, plus a sudden heat spike, made for a perfect escape room-like dungeon, and no matter how one investigates afterward it can always be filed as an accident, she thought. Was the sudden heat the evolution game's mischief, or when the tank burst did the location get recognized as a dungeon by the game? The contact time was too short and the clues too few to make sense of much. More irksome, and a rank merely lets one know the evolution game exists. Whether she asked how to end it or how many players there are now, it never responded. After a pause she closed the official site and searched the news, and immediately found a new clue. A short, shaky video. It showed a surging syrup wave swallowing a hamlet and racing outward. Then the camera jerked to a man whose ankle was wrapped by syrup. His face twisted, he struggled madly, unable to break free. The recorder's voice came through. This syrup is caustic enough to peel a layer of skin. Some were burned to death and some turned into sugar carvings. Others were glued to the ground, motionless, like mice stuck to a chopping board. The man looked up in panic toward the onrushing residue tide, but before the viewers could see the outcome the clip cut off. Perhaps the recorder ran into trouble and the filming broke. The video ended, yet that terrified face engraved itself in Van Han's mind. For an instant she seemed to see a thumbnail of ordinary humanity before a sudden catastrophe. Utterly unprepared and shaking with fear, closing the video, she reorganized her thoughts, and a dreadful guess flashed up. Dungeon number 111,679, the Syrup Massacre. If numbering starts from 1, then each dungeon equals 1 accident. Only those whose clear times earn at least an A will learn the evolution game exists. So before I gained an A, had I already taken part without knowing? If in that hypothesis that I can be replaced by anyone in the world, then might there be such a possibility that at some moment in the past, everyone was swept into the evolution game without realizing it? Some, performing brilliantly, got an A and saw the truth after that run, while most merely cited frequent mishaps in a hard world and would never know they were inside the game. Why come back? There are many reasons. First, when my bestie pushed me I thought she was joking. 2 years, for more than 2 years after a failed romance you would think one could forget an ex, yet she still missed him and roped me the scapegoat in. Second, big data nudges. When the numbers pushed it before my bestie I thought it might be fate. Third and most crucial, I felt the fans loved me very very much, and perhaps that love was a bit too intense. Such boundless affection stunned an author with little worldly experience. This dungeon draws from the real Boston molasses disaster, its causal account referencing news materials, but the story is fictional and not reality. Once again, fiction. Do not take it as true. The text is fiction. Do not believe it is real. The incident, sugar secret leak, erupted and drew massive public attention, but once the report on the cause came out and the culprit was punished, the spotlight instantly halved. A month later, except for victims and their families, few still thought of that chilling case. Van Han tidied her resume and quickly landed a new job. New World Hotel. The manager trained the rookies. As a food runner, your mind must be careful, your hands steady, do not deliver the wrong dish, and do not let broth splash onto guests. That warning had reason. The hotel's signature dish was cast iron goose stew, tender and richly flavored, widely praised, and not only delicious but heavy, because the chef insisted on cooking it in a big iron pan and required servers to carry that very pan to the table to keep the flavor intact. Plating it into another bowl dulled the essence. That made life hard for runners. The pan was heavy already, filled with broth heavier still, and during the entire walk not a drop could spill. which was harder by far. Many people lasted only a few months before buying a night train ticket and fleeing. Come give it a try. The manager swept his eyes over 8 people, paused at the only girl, then corrected himself. You're Van Han, right, you first. Van Han nodded, lifted the iron pan, walked with calm balance, and set it on the stove ledge. The manager stared. Even veteran runners with years on the job were rarely this smooth, and his tone warmed. Done similar work before? Van Han shook her head. No, I'm just strong. Born with great strength. The manager's eyes lit up as if he had found a good seed likely to stay long-term. You all try as well, he said, waiting for new talent to appear. The first man puffed his chest and stepped up, confidently lifted the pan, then wobbled, his back bending, teeth clenched as he hissed, "Why is this pan so damned heavy?" The manager frowned. If it were not so heavy, would others cry about sore arms every day, quit after a month or two, and leave the post short year-round so he had to recruit every month? If you cannot, we switch. I can. The man refused to concede to a woman, face contorted, muscles taut, trying to straighten his spine. Then he grunted and dropped the pan back onto the ledge, panting. On second thought, this job may not suit me. At the interview he had promised grit and diligence. The manager waved him off. Go. He turned to the rest. If you cannot do it, say so early. Do not be stubborn. This is not a one-day task but an everyday task. Fight to the bitter end and your pay will not cover your medical bills. The remaining 6 hesitated. Just then, a woman around 27 or 28 hurried in. I am rushing out to purchase supplies. Lend me a few people. Van Han looked over and saw she wore a hotel uniform with a badge that read Purchasing, Dong Jai. Send her. The manager pointed straight at Van Han. Why a girl? Dong Jai complained. Shopping runs needed people to lift goods into the van, a strength job usually borrowed from men. She is reliable, the manager said firmly. Anyone who could hold that pan steady would not be worse at anything else. Ignoring him, Dong Jai still took Van Han and also tapped 2 burly men. I have said it many times, report shortages in advance. Every time you wait until the fire is at my backside, he only opens his mouth to order and I run my legs off. When the driver parked, she assigned the 2 porters their tasks and told Van Han, we have enough hands, you rest. Van Han understood. Too timid to defy the manager, the buyer simply handpicked her own people afterward. Classic workplace shrewdness. Since the other party had said no, she would not insist. She found a spot to rest. This was a street of storefronts, with a delivery truck at the curb, the driver and 2 porters working like diligent ants, hauling box after box, while not far off Dong Jai checked invoices with full concentration. Suddenly, Van Han felt that familiar quickening of her heartbeat. I want milk tea, come with me. Dong Jai glanced around. You are talking to me? Van Han nodded. Dong Jai was speechless. Grown adults with jobs did not need a buddy for snacks. I do not drink milk tea, only coffee. Then let us buy coffee first. Van Han switched at once. Was the refusal still not clear? Dong Jai was about to snap, but seeing the driver and porter sweating at the brow, she swallowed her words. I will go with you. She did not especially crave coffee, she just meant to buy a few cups for the driver and porters to cool off. Let us go. Van Han stepped out first. Dong Jai froze. You said together and then left me behind. I am in high heels, slow down. She hurried to catch up. After only a few quick steps, a small car fishtailed across the street straight toward the very spot where she had been standing, its speed gust blowing loose hair at her temple. Screech! A thunderous crash as the car rammed the storefront, blasting the main doors and shattering part of the wall. The driver and 2 porters, lucky to be at close range, witnessed the impact and nearly buckled at the knees. Gooseflesh raced over Dong Jai's skin. Had she refused and stayed checking invoices, she dared not imagine the result. Accident, call an ambulance. The street plunged into chaos. At that moment a transparent interface popped up. Congratulations, player, you have survived with luck in the dungeon numbered 112,132 insurance fraud accident. Because you saved a person, your clear rating is C, reward attribute points, strength increased by 1/10, agility increased by 1/10. So this is also a dungeon of the evolution game, Van Han mused. In more than 28 years of life, never had a day shaken Dong Jai like this. Death had been only a few steps away. The offending car nearly brushed her as it barreled into the door. Before she could recover, she was invited to the police station to give a statement. She hardly remembered what she said, and when she came to, she was on a waiting bench, with Van Han 2 seats away beside her. "Why did you walk so fast just now? You do not like me. Keeping distance avoids being a nuisance. Then why invite me to buy milk tea?" "Because I wanted some." Van Han raised her cup and sipped. Only then did Dong Jai notice the milk tea in her hand. She must have kept it close to her side earlier where it escaped notice. "I also bought an Americano. Do you want it?" "I do." Dong Jai needed caffeine to press down the fright. The two sat quietly, one with milk tea, one with coffee. Dong Jai's mind was blank, wanting only to stare into space. After a while, a middle-aged man with filthy, unwashed hair and a sour reek was escorted past by police, shouting as he went, "I did not mean this to happen. I am drowning in debt. I bought insurance and planned to kill myself for the payout for my family. I staked out for half a day, picked a fast car, timed it and jumped. Who knew the driver would swerve? I never expected he would kill someone else." Sitting at the station longer had revealed the cause. Dong Jai looked up and could only curse him a moron. She muttered wearily, "That is insurance fraud. The insurer will not pay. Before attempting suicide you could at least learn the basics." The man gaped, even more shocked than at hearing there had been a death. To prevent conflict, the police hurried him away. So it was insurance fraud. The answer beyond expectation left Dong Jai helpless. The perpetrator charged out seeking death, then failed to die. The driver reacted fast and dodged, and others paid the price. "If I had still been there, it would have been an unjust death," she said, angry and aggrieved. "I heard there were customers inside. In the end 1 person died and 5 were injured and rushed to the hospital," Van Han said softly, "all of them blameless." She thought brushing past death was bad luck enough. Unexpectedly, when she returned to the hotel after finishing her statement, the boss informed her, "Leaving your post without cause during work hours means a pay deduction." Stunned, she tried to explain, "There was an accident while I was out purchasing. I went to the police station to cooperate and file a report." The driver and porters should have returned earlier to explain as well. The boss fired questions. "Did you report in advance to the company? Was it approved? Did you vanish without explaining anything?" She fell silent. When life is nearly lost, who remembers company procedure? "That settles it." He turned to Van Han, "You also missed a day, deduct as well." Van Han thought a moment and asked, "Today was my first day, which means I have no pay and instead owe the company a sum." The boss choked. Thick-skinned as he was, even he dared not count it that way. Knowing she could not escape, Dong Jai simply shouldered it all. "She just started and knows nothing. If you must deduct, take it from my pay alone." The boss took a mile from an inch. "Given it is the first time, a warning with deduction, and no next time." When he left, Dong Jai spat bitterly, "Leech without bottom." Van Han wondered, is the hotel business doing poorly? The trade looked bustling. Why pinch pennies like this, unlike a big hotel owner? "Business is fine," Dong Jai said gloomily, "but making money and loving to squeeze are two different things." A middle-aged man attempted to fake a suicide to extort money. The driver swerved hard to avoid him and instead triggered a more serious crash. The whole affair was so convoluted and bizarre that the internet boiled with curses. Uneducated and terrifying. Wants to die but fails, refuses to die then gets taken by a car crash. Heaven must be blind. Karma. Amid the tide of abuse, Van Han gradually adapted to the rhythm of her new job. Today, just as she reached the hotel and changed into her uniform, Dong Jai suddenly appeared and tugged her toward the stairwell. Obediently following and waiting until they were somewhere private, Van Han asked, "What is it?" Looking nervous, Dong Jai glanced around to make sure only the two of them were there, then lowered her voice. "That day after the police finished taking statements and let us go home, did you feel anything was off?" No. Van Han shook her head. Hearing that, Dong Jai looked quite disappointed, yet she pressed on, "Truly nothing?" "Think carefully." "Everything was normal," Van Han affirmed. Dong Jai's expression shifted, and at last she sighed. "Are you all right?" Van Han asked with concern. "I ran into something, a bit strange," Dong Jai hedged. "Strange how?" "Last weekend my friend ran a marathon and invited me along," Dong Jai began, finally giving in to the urge to talk. She said finishing was not necessary, what mattered was participation. I thought, since the weather was fine, getting some activity would be good. Besides, if something happens again one day, running fast is better than standing still. In the end, I ran the whole thing. I hit the finish together with my friend. Wearing a looks like I saw a ghost face, she said. That is too weird. My friend loves working out and trains outdoors all the time. I, on rest days, am too lazy to step outside, and I have never beaten her. How did my fitness let me catch up to her? Maybe she ran slower than usual? Van Han offered a reasonable guess. Impossible, Dong Jai said flatly. Marathons are timed. Because I was glued to her back, she actually set a personal best. There were things she did not confess. She herself ran faster and longer than usual. Fine, chalk it up to adrenaline, but after finishing she felt even lighter than after a casual street stroll before. Two people crossed the line together, which clearly pointed to her being the oddity. Have you encountered anything unusual lately? Van Han asked again. Rubbing her brow, Dong Jai said, the most unusual thing lately was that I was nearly hit by a car. Surviving a crash and then suddenly leveling up physically? Van Han mused. Never heard of it. I have only heard that, in emergencies, some people can explode with potential great strength or great speed. But once the danger passes, it cannot be reproduced. Yet this morning I went for a run and my feet still flew, Dong Jai fumed. The accident was days ago, why am I not back to normal? Rather than happy, the boost in pace made her uneasy. What was happening was outside her comprehension. Extra fitness, even if gifted, was not what she wanted, she only wished to revert. You are asking me, but I have no idea, Van Han said. Still unwilling to give up, Dong Jai asked, you really have not noticed anything strange? No, Van Han answered with certainty. Thinking it over, Dong Jai ventured, the manager said you were strong. Maybe you were already strong, then after the crash even stronger, only you did not realize it? Van Han blinked. Perhaps you already ran fast so the increase is not obvious? Dong Jai continued, then looked at her expectantly. After the crash, have you tried a marathon? If not, try one? Just then, men's voices drew near with approaching footsteps. I told you not to tease it, you would not listen. How was I supposed to know it was that vicious? Now look, you got scratched and must get a rabies shot. Shot for what? A tiny scrape, rinse it and dab some medicine. Hearing others approach, Dong Jai fell silent, swiftly smoothing her mood. With professional calm she asked, what happened? The two were hotel servers, one named Vang Trake, the other True Trake then. Seeing Dong Jai, Vang Trake's heart skipped. He lied, nothing. We were taking out trash and saw a cat in the parking lot lying in a corner like it was dead, so I went to have a look. A look? You led with a kick, True Trake then exposed him. The cat hurt, grabbed your ankle and bit. I told you to shoo it, but you would not, you insisted on catching it to teach it a lesson. After a long tussle you did not catch it, and I ended up scratched too. He grew upset. Do you know how expensive rabies shots are? To him it was truly misfortune from nowhere. A co-worker ignored warnings and taunted a cat, dragging him into injury. Vang Trake had hoped to bluff it away, but being unmasked on the spot burned his face. He snapped, enough, be a man. Cat scratches are nothing, why run off to get shots? Rinse under water and you are fine. Do you know why doctors recommend rabies shots when strays scratch or bite? True asked and answered himself, because people have been scratched or bitten, ignored it, and later got infected and died. Quit spooking me, Vang grumbled. Dog bites carry the real rabies risk, cat bites are as unlikely as winning a lottery. Who gambles with life, True retorted. If death comes, will you pay the price? A cat scratched you, what does that have to do with me? Vang denied responsibility. If you had not kicked and toyed with the cat, would it have lumped me with you for revenge? Originally unwilling to make Vang pay, the attitude alone stoked his anger. Then blame the cat, Vang refused to admit fault. After hearing them out, Dong Jai concluded, rabies vaccine, if it should be taken, it must be taken. Seeing Vong poised to argue, she lifted her gaze. Shall I ask the boss whether a worker bitten by a cat but refusing a shot can keep his job? Color drained from Vong's face, he amended fast. I will. After shift I will go straight away. NK Books. To avoid further quarrel, he hurried off. What nonsense, True muttered, ever more speechless. I just graduated. Once my pay arrives, rent is deducted, then loan repayments, what little left for food is barely enough, and now a chunk must go to rabies shots. Money can be earned again, do not economize in the wrong place, Van Han said. I know, True smiled bitterly. Watching nearby, a new thought flashed in Dong Jai's mind. Could it be that Van Han has not merely gained brute strength, but some sixth sense-like power? Table 3, Iron Wok braised goose, the head chef called. Coming, Van Han answered, lifting the iron wok to table 3, her stride was steady, both firm and swift. Look at her, then look at you lot, the head chef eyed Van Han with approval, then glared at his apprentices, hating iron for not becoming steel. A young woman can carry an iron wok with ease, yet you whine after a few circuits, does that sound worthy? The apprentices cried their case, this wok is really heavy. The pot is heavy, the goose is fat, sides are many, and it is brimming with broth, a few more trips and the arm is done. It is not that we are weak, it is that she makes it look effortless. I have watched, every time she lifts the wok out, sets it on the table, and that is that. How could we do that? The head chef glowered, you cannot match her talent, can you not at least train diligently? She was born strong, can you not, by effort, try to catch up? The apprentices groaned, every day we are dog-tired, once home we drop into bed, where is the time for a gym? Excuses, all excuses. Furious, he rapped each head with a ladle. They scattered. On her way to report to the boss, Dong Jai met Vong and casually asked, got your rabies shots yet? He cursed his bad luck inwardly but smiled outwardly, yes, do not worry. She nodded and hurried on. Vong climbed to the empty rooftop, took out a cigarette case, lit one, and dragged hard. Damn, a mere errand boy and I make trouble for myself. Whether others get shots is none of your business, fuss like that and people will think you are the boss's wife. I am not getting any, what can you do about it? He glanced at the bite on his ankle, the wound had already begun to close and looked perfectly ordinary, and he felt no discomfort. Rabies immunoglobulin costs a fortune, each vaccine dose is hundreds, only a fool wastes money like that. He chuckled darkly, mood lifting. Unknowingly, 3 weeks passed. Today, on his way back from taking out trash alone, True saw Vong wearing a mask and frowned. What are you up to? Since the stray cat incident, True's opinion of Vong had sunk, and they had barely spoken. To True, Vong's sneaky air, plus a mask, screamed shady business. Headache and a mild fever, I just bought medicine. Vong looked drained and coughed twice while speaking. Seeing that, True held his tongue. Vong then ducked away. Workers' dormitory. Vong tore open the blister pack, swallowed pills, and washed them down. It is fine, only a slight fever, all normal cold symptoms, he muttered, as if soothing and convincing himself at once. Even so, he could not help recalling his chat with the pharmacy clerk. Back then he had asked, feigning nonchalance, if a stray cat bites and one does not get vaccinated, and rabies happens, what are the symptoms? The clerk said, there are no signs during incubation, typically after about 20 days symptoms appear, first low fever, headache, whole body fatigue, irritability, anxiety, insomnia, mid-stage the wound tingles and itches, late stage comes an excitable phase with hygrophobia, aerophobia, and photophobia. Vong's hand trembled. How do you tell ordinary fever from rabies? Consider whether you were recently scratched or bitten by a stray, any such injury warrants attention, the clerk explained. If the skin was not broken, it is fine, if it was abraded and bled, hospitals generally advise vaccination. What if one misses the window? Vong pressed. The clerk, as if sensing something, answered carefully, if not infected, then lucky, if infected, rabies has a fatality rate of absolute certainty. Vong's heart tightened. However, in recent years the authorities have strengthened control, and rabies incidence declines year by year, the clerk added to reassure. As long as the animal does not carry the virus, even a dog bite will not cause disease. Finishing the recollection, in the dorm Vong suddenly found confidence again. Even dog bites do not always cause it, let alone a cat. No way I am that unlucky. Just a mild fever, medicine will fix it. A restless night, a pounding headache, and anxiety in his heart kept Wangja from sleeping. By dawn he rolled out of bed. After thinking all night, he finally decided to go to the hospital to get the rabies vaccine. He went to the parking lot to get his electric scooter, just as two janitors were chatting. Right now, stray cats are all ugly. We don't know who was in front, got bitten to death, and just left here. Not natural death, another guessed. They have claw and bite wounds, probably fought over territory, and eventually the injuries were too severe, so they died. Wangja was startled, recalling the store clerk saying 10-day observation rule, meaning if a cat bites and doesn't die in 10 days, it's basically fine. If it died, vaccination is required. What does a dead cat look like? When does it die? Wangja asked urgently. The janitors were startled by his sudden question. After struggling to recall, they replied uncertainly, dead for about half a month, color and pattern, calico? Not right, another corrected, not pure calico, it's bicolor, with a tuft of white fur on the neck. Ah, really? I don't remember clearly. Wangja tried to recall what the biting cat looked like, but it had been long ago. Still, he went to the hospital, riding his scooter in a hurry. The janitors couldn't understand, the stray cat is dead, what is he getting vaccinated for? He's not even raising it? At the hospital, the doctor said, the egg white immunity requires 7 doses, plus a first rabies dose, total cost about $1,500, if completing 5 rabies doses, total $2,700. That expensive? Wangja exclaimed, thinking of the dead cat in the parking lot, panicking, biting his lip. Do it. The doctor prepared the vaccine, Wangja's heart bleeding slightly, beginning to regret teasing the cat earlier. But after the injection, his body finally felt light, vaccinated, safe, nothing would happen. On the way back, Wangju was delighted, his mood much improved. Back at the hotel, seeing Dong Jai, he actively greeted, shopping, today I got vaccinated. Dong Jai felt mixed emotions, stepped back slightly, murmuring, pretty good. Vaccinated, Wangja felt invincible, enthusiastically working. Dong Jai, watching him, felt repelled, every cell in her body wanting to stay away. During rest, Dong Jai pulled Van Han to a hidden corner, lowering her voice. I just saw Wangja realized he's unsuitable, did you already guess? At first meeting, Van Han was recommended by the director, Dong Jai subtly critical. Later, Van Han invited her along, otherwise might have been hit by a car, deepening trust. Later, Dong Jai spoke of strange events she encountered. Over half a month, the hotel had no unusual rumors. Dong Jai found Van Han sincere, good character, natural when speaking. What's wrong with him? Van Han tilted her head. Don't worry, Dong Jai thought she was right, you surely knew the cat bites were problematic, so you advised Zhao Zhishan to get vaccinated. Wangja agreed verbally, but disagreed secretly, hence the delay. Van Han asked, Wangja, why? Vacant eyes, exhausted look, gives a bad impression, Dong Jai imagined. Van Han asked, hospital check, diagnosed rabies? Dong Jai, no. Van Han looked up, questioning, then how did you know the cats were problematic? Dong Jai dumbfounded, what? Didn't you notice? Your logic is extraordinary. Van Han analyzed seriously, no one diagnosed correctly, why did you conclude Wangja had a problem, then infer cats were an issue, making me grateful early? Dong Jai gasped, silent for half a day. She felt her inference correct, Van Han's words also reasonable. So why was she so certain before? Maybe, Van Han said slowly, the sixth sense wasn't mine, but yours? I was cautious, just giving advice. You wanted a companion, so saw my behavior. Suspicious. Dong Jai panicked. Logic analysis shows no issue. But inside, a voice screamed, something felt wrong. Aren't you too anxious? Van Han said, after the car accident, you didn't gain powers, but became superhuman? No, Dong Jai shook her head. Still human, Van Han asked. Sixth sense girls are strong, from childhood, haven't you met one? Dong Jai recalled, in college, a female classmate, same year, everyone called her male discriminator. Exaggerated? First meeting her roommate's boyfriend, secretly complained to roommate, boyfriend felt uneasy. Later, classmate joking about boyfriend, made her meet him, helping her overcome a challenge. Later, said nothing, shook head. Classmate thought she deliberately provoked, got angry. Soon, boyfriend got kicked, classmate wasn't first involved. After finishing, Dong Jai suspected she overreacted. Reality has such people, she met one, just initially didn't recall. The world has many things science can't explain. Close brush with death, latent potential bursts, physical strength increases. Though unheard before, not less amazing. Van Han concluded. Dong Jai remained silent, anxiety from the car accident, after talking to Van Han, eased greatly. Thanks for telling me Wang Jia has a problem, Van Han sincerely said, I'll keep distance from him. Ah, Dong Jai felt odd. Next morning, Wang Jia rubbed his eyes, struggled out of bed. Mild fever, poor sleep, headache. Opened bedside cabinet, took medicine, muttering, after a few days of meds, still no improvement? Wearing slippers, heading to bathroom, ankles suddenly itchy and numb, felt like ants crawling. What bit me? He rolled up pant leg, nothing there, but discomfort remained. Remembered stray cat bite here, wound closed, previously ignored. Now, itching in pain matched wound exactly. Wang Jia panicked, I already got vaccinated, how come? No, he denied, maybe just sleep pressure, leg numb. He tried to suppress pain, went to bathroom, but didn't disappear. Sat on chair, suddenly wanted a cigarette. Working, Zhao Zhishan focused. Wang Jia appeared from nowhere, grabbed his wrist, rabies vaccine done? Yes. Zhao Zhishan said seriously, so? Conscience triggered, want to pay the medical fee? Wang Jia, sleepless days, eyes dark, haggard, voice choking, where? Zhao Zhishan saw pitiful look, still gave hospital info. Went together. Wang Jia asked, any discomfort after vaccine? Yes. Arm swollen, body weak, can't rest, must diet. Zhao Zhishan angry, wanted to grab Wang Jia by collar. But civilized, in company, fighting risks dismissal, so only scolded verbally. Like that? Wang Jia flustered. Hospital same, vaccine likely same. Why Zhao Zhishan fine, he? Could it be because vaccine was too late? Not enough? Zhao Zhishan doubted, you speaking? I paid over 2,000, still not enough reaction? No, Wang Jia terrified, ran away. Zhao Zhishan sighed, not cat bite, brain eaten by corpse? Even though Van Han and Dong Jai promised distance, in practice, work prevented meeting. 3 consecutive days, Van Han worked diligently, competing for outstanding employee. During lunch break, drinking, staring blankly, heart racing. Looked afar, saw customer pull window curtain, golden sunlight filling room. Next second, Wang Jia dashed, pulling curtain up. What are you doing? Customer annoyed, tried to pull back. Don't pull. Wang Jia shouted, pulled up. Customer laughed, your hotel, can't let sunlight in? Oddly, no other guests nearby. No. Can't let sunlight shine in. Wang Zhou insisted. Customer? Weird hotel, books. Curtain can't be moved? I'll pull. Customer stubborn, tugged curtain with Wang Zhou, hotel rules forbid it. Where's manager? Anyone to talk? Stretching hand, grabbing curtain. Wang Zhou held tightly, wouldn't yield. They struggled, neither. Backing down. Wang Zhou, sleep-deprived, weakened, gradually couldn't resist. Customer about to laugh, suddenly Wang Zhou bit hand aggressively. Customer in pain, shocked, biting people? Curtain pulled slightly, sunlight leaked in, Wang Jia scared, quickly pulled up. Customer alarmed, stepped back, ran for manager. Dong Jai, security, your hotel stealing corpse care? In a ghost district that bustled like a marketplace from the living world, a young man in gold-rimmed glasses moved alone between stalls manned by grotesque specter vendors who still traded by old routines, though now and then a spat of words flared into brawls and arms and legs seemed to fly everywhere. As he walked, a wooden comb the size of a palm, a D-rank ghost artifact, slipped from his pocket and hit the ground. His face changed. He snatched it up and hurried off, not far away a thieving wraith chuckled and shadowed him down a shortcut, but before it could raise a third finger to work its trick, it found the man standing there calmly as if waiting. The thief felt something wrong and tried to bolt, only for ghostly miasma to billow like a sky-blotting storm, and in a blink the wraith was gone. The bespectacled man smiled, picked through the spoils, and tallied the haul, thinking that striking inside the ghost city would be trouble if discovered, yet with no specter to witness. There would be no testimony and no aftermath. One route in his clear. The stage plan was to target a pickpocketing ghost after its day's toil and inherit the job it was profiting from. Well, a teammate popped from a corner, excited. Did we make back the stake? He grinned, a bountiful harvest. Good. The teammate exhaled. Working ghost artifacts burns money. If that thief had no skills and dropped little, we'd be in for a beating. Lucky it was capable. The three split the spoils evenly and the man went fishing again, picking a good spot. He accidentally dropped the D-rank wooden comb. Another specter's eyes lit up, greed locked on the comb. The man feigned a flustered show of talent, scrambled to scoop it, and dashed into a dark alley as if fleeing, then waited, but no ghost followed in. Where's the ghost? The teammate asked after a long while. The man frowned. You two hold here, I'll take a look. He stepped out to find crowds of specters hurrying like a swarm of bees surging toward the east side market. Looks like something happened. The trio shelved the hunt and went to watch the commotion. Form a line. Clear hard tea, 2 ghost stars a bowl, 1 bowl per turn only. After buying, go to the end of the line. Cut the queue at your own risk. Van Han greeted while taking money. A short-haired girl with a blank face helped pour tea and still had to explain. A light taste is normal. What we sell is green tea. Strong brew isn't in this realm. A customer took a porcelain bowl, gulped a mouthful, and sighed nonstop. Good tea, such good tea. This clear hard tea really hits the spot. 2 ghost stars a bowl is a steal. Some customers grumbled. Queued this long for 1 bowl only? Can't we buy more? Van Han smiled. All handcrafted, limited quantity. Once the front clears stock, the back gets none. At that, many specters in the rear stared at the front like tigers eyeing prey, ready to pounce and tear. Those who had just drunk felt scorching gazes on their backs, shuddered, covered their faces, and sprinted away. The next customer rushed up shouting, finally my turn, flung down ghost stars and urged, hurry and give me tea, as if a late second meant missing out. The short-haired girl's hand was steady. She poured neither too fast nor too slow. The customer grabbed the porcelain bowl and chugged, then complained to Van Han, boss, your worker's no good, too fussy, not quick on the draw. The short-haired girl, too many customers, too many tasks, hired temp help and she's still green, please be patient. Van Han explained, then told the temp, faster hands, brim the bowls, let everyone drink to their heart's content. Hearing this, the line praised her to the skies. The short-haired girl drifted into an existential fog. Who am I? Where is this? What am I doing? It all started half an hour earlier when she saw Van Han slay a water wraith and thought the stall was just a banner. But soon a troop of ghosts charged over. In the dungeon-like ghost market, players couldn't read item tiers on stalls, yet in the ghost city the ranks still showed. One glance told her the inspectors included 2 D ranks and a heap of E and F ranks. She whispered to Van Han, if things go south, we split and run. It's fine, I can handle it, Van Han said and stepped up to parley. It's a false charge. Who goes around casually killing ghosts? That water wraith smeared my stall's name, came to make trouble and even wanted to eat someone. I only fought back under duress. Another witness ghost argued, it was her. Not only did she brazenly water the tea, when a customer called it out she killed to silence him. Van Han stood firm. The water wraith never even drank. It just insisted the tea was bad. That's framing. A D-rank wraith came forward. What tea? Pour me a bowl. Van Han treated him like any customer and poured. He sipped and his face changed, delight and doubt, an unsure spark in ghostly eyes. He tasted again, then again, discovery blooming. Sip after sip until the bowl was empty. My unique secret recipe, drink it and it works wonders. Van Han stressed her monopoly. That water wraith couldn't appreciate quality and thought I ruined my brand. Who could stand that? The D-rank sighed, tea this good, failing to relish it means dying. Without injustice, then gestured, another. The crowd and the short-haired girl were equally stunned. Under a ring of watching specters, Van Han served at leisure. All right, tea's here. The drank down one bowl after another, and only after the fifth set the porcelain down with satisfaction. Run a good business. I'll come again when free. His accomplice, convinced the tea was wrong, hurled the bowl, flipped the table, and roared. What did you tamper with? Why is he all unwell after drinking? Van Han said, because the tea is good, he appreciates it and likes it. The tea drinker added, there's nothing wrong with the tea, it's especially good. If you don't believe it, have one yourself and you'll see. The more he said, the more the accomplice suspected and lunged to kill, but a shadow loomed in front of Van Han and that pounce plunged straight into the shadow's mouth. The silhouette stretched and warped. Clearly the accomplice was being swallowed and thrashing hard. Onlookers worried the shadow might be torn, yet resistance thinned with time and went still. The shadow lay quietly at Van Han's feet like a venomous snake ready to move. She casted a feather-like glance. The tea drinker's guts turned to water and he forced a grin. Say no more, I understand. He made trouble and deserved it, and regular tea-drinking customers will be treated well. That's right. Van Han nodded. The wraith's smile looked worse than crying. Tea this good, I want to bring some home for my family. Please pack me 5 shares. I'll take them and spread the word for you. Van Han was put on the spot. I've only got porcelain bowls, not convenient for extra containers. No problem, I've got bamboo tubes. He produced a clean tube. Van Han filled 5 bowls and poured them in. He paid and fled as if his soles were greased. Other specters either chased after him or screwed up the courage to ask, is that tea really so good? Try and see. Van Han pointed to her sign. 2 ghost stars a bowl, not expensive. The curious bought, and after a bit of watching they discovered that as long as you bought tea normally the boss wouldn't do anything, just did business like normal. So more grew bold. 1 bowl for me, I want to taste 2, 1 green tea to go. I brought my own container. Business exploded. Unable to keep up, Van Han pulled the short-haired girl to help while she herself kept order. Line up, 1 step at a time, mindful that if the boss got mad. She literally ate ghosts, none dared object and all cooperated meekly. The queue stretched longer and longer. Then Van Han set a rule that each turn in line allowed only 1 bowl. Want more? Back to the end. Make sure more customers got a taste. The short-haired girl, dragged into this horror game moment, had never seen so many ghosts. Staring at a line with no end, she whispered, is this streamable? If it's inconvenient I'll stop the live first. At that the live room exploded. Streamer, be kind, it's rare to see so many ghosts and you wanna cut the live 37-degree body temperature. How can you say such a cold thing? No way, not allowed. Cut it and I'll cry right now. A viewer tips 100 ghost stars and calls on the streamer to keep broadcasting. I love watching. Every 15 minutes another 100 ghost stars in this live. Tipping lets viewers attach messages, ask the streamer to explore, to tell a certain player, or to do something big enough to die for. When the streamer takes a cut of the tip, she also gets the messages. Whether to comply depends entirely on mood, so tipping is risky and pocket change must be handled carefully. The short-haired girl received a tip yet paid it no mind and still waited for Van Han's reply. Nothing inconvenient. Stream away. Van Han didn't mind. The girl blinked. But you aren't streaming yourself. I have special reasons. Van Han smiled. You go ahead, I don't mind. She avoided streaming to keep many worries at bay. Replication, tracking marks, forgetting to turn it often being seen, while anything she could reveal to players in the dungeon she could also reveal to viewers. Good then, once aligned, the girl kept pouring and then simply could not stop. Panic crept onto her face and a question sprouted in her heart. Was she here to clear a dungeon or to work a job? The man in gold-rimmed glasses watched the scene, at a loss for words, and finally murmured, have ghosts in this world never drunk tea? How can this stuff make money? Because business was too blazing and some specters even bought tea leaves to take home. A little past noon the clear heart tea had only 5 packets left for personal use and the rest was sold out, all gone. Next batch later, a wraith who had waited long and was about to erupt got yanked by a neighbor. Come, I'll treat you elsewhere. And a resentful specter was dragged off just like that. Van Han packed up, waved the short-haired girl over, and the two left together. The girl wandered half the day in a daze, her mind a tangled skein, like how she'd drunk this clear heart tea herself and felt nothing special, yet ghosts adored it, some even queued 5 times, or why, with such demand, they didn't submit it as a cleared item but instead slaved over a kettle to sell for cash. Whenever she didn't understand, she asked, adding, answer if you can, skip if you can't. Sincerity buys conversation. I never meant to make it this big. Under the girl's doubtful gaze Van Han spoke earnestly, clear heart tea is a clear stage reward. I didn't know what it did, so I tried selling it. Who knew ghosts would love it so much? The girl said, if you stored it and turned it in you might pass out, right? We're not far off even now. Van Han was unconcerned. If I had to brew with bottled water, I'd have tried a little, then stopped and told anyone asking that the tea was sold out. But there's a kettle here that pours endless potable water, so the cost bottoms out. I think the price is right, so I sold the lot. Look, we earned over 1,000 ghost stars, subtract 100 for stall rent, subtract water costs, subtract labor, net profit 8 to 900. She then flicked 100 ghost stars to the short-haired girl. Here, your wages and ghost artifact usage fee. In truth, there was also a sample goods cost. The special ghost artifact bottomless water kettle had already been duplicated and stored in private space. The short-haired girl was speechless. Don't tell me you're planning to submit 500 ghost stars and trick your way through, she warned on purpose. Someone tried that before and the paper ghost officials didn't allow it. Van Han only smiled and sold a pass. You'll know tonight. As the proverb goes, in any workplace there are always secrets. A rumor among friends spreads, and before long, many people know. But even knowing, ordinary people cannot imagine how a small slip can lead to serious consequences, like the hotel with cracked walls and broken beams. The workers were grateful but not overlooked, yet when the tycoons discussed it, it was all teasing remarks, mainly scolding the boss, and very few actually took it seriously or considered resigning to escape. Some felt that as long as a brave person intervened, the boss would seek help a bit, and any leak would be quickly managed, allowing the tycoons to continue their work with peace of mind. Yet Van Han ate her peanuts, and in an instant, felt her familiar heartbeat quicken. At the same time, her right eyelid twitched uncontrollably at a rapid pace, revealing the tension without failing. Van Han fell silent. The peanuts in her hand suddenly lost their fragrance. The boss is like this, and you don't consider the workplace too much? Van Han asked casually. Her disciples grimaced bitterly. Deputy Master insists on staying. Shall we go? It's not that no one dug corners, but the boss had helped the Deputy Master before, and the Deputy Master said that a person without conscience shouldn't go eat elsewhere. Actually, it wasn't a big deal. At that time the hotel was recruiting chefs. The Deputy Master accepted the invitation. The boss noticed the Deputy Master's cooking skills and decided to hire him. The Deputy Master was very busy then, calculating with the boss 3 months' wages. Roughly, the boss was really satisfied with the Deputy Master's cooking skills, and even agreed. The Deputy Master used that money to get past a difficult period, later remembering this favor. To be honest, the Deputy Master was too sentimental. The boss, being stingy, deducted wages, delayed raises, and recovered about 3 months' wages. You can't say that. I heard the Deputy Master's family fell ill. They were in debt, poor, had nothing to eat. Those 3 months' wages helped them survive. Though the boss was stingy, without him, what would have become of the Deputy Master? Hard to say. Some spat out. I always felt that the reason the boss hired the Deputy Master, aside from cooking skills, was because the hotel's wages were low, and no one else would come. It was hard to find someone who cared so little for money. The Deputy Master was unlucky. Small favors were withheld by the hotel. So yes, the boss has some luck with people. Seeing the topic dragging on, Van Han said, if you're free, why not have a cup of coffee? Everyone was very moved. All right. Let's go to the cafe, Van Han said while standing up, but her disciples shook their heads frantically. We can't leave the hotel during work. NK Books. Being lazy or not, going out is a different matter. If the Deputy Master finds out, we'll be scolded to death. We said to get you a drink. Will you buy coffee? Otherwise, a lunchbox is fine. Van Han persuaded them. Just this once, only a short while outside. You won't be noticed. If caught, it's my responsibility, all mine. The disciples firmly refused. We will be expelled. Can't gamble with this. Gambling to the end leaves you empty-handed. Refuse the risk. I start. Van Han lost hope. Fine, you stay, I go alone. In an instant, she felt ruthlessly indifferent. Ultimately, she adhered to the principle that offering help is worth it. Whether they take it or not is their choice. Go slowly, don't rush. The disciples laughed loudly. Come back and work well. I have some milk candy, take it. Someone said, handing her a piece, indicating Van Han should accept, shyly in her pocket. Van Han felt uneasy. Shopping. Far away, seeing Dong Jai, Van Han shouted, running slowly towards him. Dong Jai was startled, his back chilled. He had never seen such enthusiasm. I have something very important to tell you. Let's not beat around the bush. Van Han spoke quickly. Someone said 2 days ago the guest room makeup mirrors broke. The lobby beams also cracked. What now? I'm really worried. What if the hotel collapses? Dong Jai thought, please don't speak. Now that you mentioned it, I start thinking the same. Van Han, not giving him a chance, continued, this is a hotel, people eat, stay, plus there are about 100 staff. If it collapses, everyone will be buried. Normally, such an event is unlikely, but I can't help worrying. Shopping, I know your sixth sense is sharp. What do you feel? You said I was terrified, my mind already wondering how to escape quickly. Dong Jai expressionless, narrating his true inner feelings. Shopping also thinks so. Could it really collapse? Van Han guessed, shouting in panic, no, let's go outside first, I will report the situation. She quickly called the police from outside. The call was quickly connected. Van Han described the situation simply, then gave the hotel name, urgently asking, can you contact the hotel to have staff and guests evacuate quickly? The operator was embarrassed. Normally, the process is to first send someone to check structural quality. If there is a problem, the hotel is suspended from business until renovation meets standards, then resume operations. Ordering people up may affect normal business. What if it really collapses? Van Han pitifully said, I'm really scared. As a hotel worker, hearing this, it feels the building won't hold, maybe collapse any second. Send people quickly. I understand your concern, but you're overreacting. The operator tried to reassure, the front column may crack, mirrors may shatter, but the building isn't in that serious condition, you are just scaring yourself. I will notify staff quickly. If truly scared, find an open area temporarily. Check carefully, if structural quality issues exist, we will immediately evacuate everyone. Van Han wanted more than comfort or immediate police arrival. She wanted the police to take charge, announce evacuation, notify everyone to leave. But the operator strictly followed protocol, perhaps doubting her, fearing a false report. Seeing it ineffective, Van Han instructed, then get back here quickly, then hung up. Now Van Han and Dong Jai left the hotel, entered an empty parking lot, her twitching eyelid gradually normalized. Just looking at the 6-story building, Van Han frowned. She had help, what about the others? Before taking further action, a deep sigh came from beside. From your perception, calm life becomes unusually stimulating. Van Han felt uneasy, reasoning, I just entered this new hotel world, now I understand what they mean by many accidents. But it is after your perception that panic truly arose. Dong Jai pulled out his phone, taking a calm yet resolute tone to call emergency. The call went through. She spoke without hesitation, hey? I plan to go to XX Street in the new hotel world, but don't want to harm innocents, you get out. You didn't miss here, I am serious, I placed bombs throughout the hotel, in a moment it will explode. Why? Of course, a grudge with the boss. Dong Jai laughed fiercely, the boss loves money, wasting it irritates him, he experienced unethical things, deserves it. After saying, bang, he hung up. Van Han stared. Dong Jai quickly dialed another phone, hey, director? Just received police notification, hotel has hidden bombs, might explode anytime, evacuate rich guests quickly. Then she raised her voice, are you kidding? How can I joke about this? Run quickly, don't delay, if delayed, staff casualties, police will hold you accountable. She ended the call unilaterally. In this operation, hotel and police both misled, anyone seeing it would thumbs up, saying cow. After this, Dong Jai said to Van Han, damn this job, I can't avoid it either. Big fish eats small fish, little fish eats shrimp, except the boss, all workers are victims. Thinking carefully, nothing is worth clinging to, it's just habit, thinking things can be patched, so continue as usual. Hearing Van Han describe the broken beams, worrying about collapse, her inner voice kept ringing, it's real, run fast, at the same time terrified, trembling. Previously, she had felt similar when attacked by a feral cat, missing timely vaccination. So she was extremely worried, what if her intuition is right this time? Would she only care for herself, ignoring the hotel staff? Dong Jai thought long, realizing he couldn't handle it, thus abandoning reason, abandoning restraint, went crazy on the spot. False alarm, disturbing public order, you might get half a month in jail. Dong Jai sighed, now mood is complex, hoping intuition is wrong, nothing happens, also hope if intuition is right, they heed advice, run out quickly, no need for me to sacrifice. Van Han appreciated Dong Jai's effort, but circumstances didn't allow. She checked her phone, time of first rapid heartbeat had passed 13 minutes. In her heart she prayed, hope we get there in time. The director received the call, stunned, what? NK Hotel
Books.
Bomb threat, emergency evacuation? Sounded like April Fool's joke? Before he could react, received official police notification. Police instructed them to call, why hesitate? The director ran to broadcast. Dear guests, hotel just received first notification, bombs inside, may explode anytime, please leave quickly. Again, dear guests, hotel just received first notification. Reference, 19860315 Singapore New World Hotel Collapse Incident News Report. Below, someone told me, watching Infinite Survival Game, ended September 2018, obsessed with plot twist, pandemic started after 2 months of supplies, survived safely till now, indeed, helped tycoons, author very happy, watching Infinite Bankruptcy Risk, ended February 2020, saved money, endured these years, accumulated some, also someone in the US watched Infinite Survival Game. After 2 months of supplies, pandemic came, watched Evolution Game, Boston Raid. Then personally experienced at high school level. Author advises to stay safe outside. The morning after the dungeon run, the young man with gold-rimmed glasses and his crew had planned to hustle, but the whole ghost market was in chaos, hardly any proper ghosts willing to trade, the few decent ones darting to and fro so fast they never stopped. The gold-rimmed guy tried the old bait-and-wait routine and no ghost even cared. Half a day went by without a single order, sometimes a dozen to 20 ghosts swept past them, such a crowd you couldn't even tease one into stopping. 3 of them waited from daylight until the sun sank in the west and still never got a chance to act, a teammate said in despair. If not, let's just go bargain hunting. In the afternoon they returned to the shared dorm and found the mastermind snoozing in the room, not caring how wild it was outside. Anger boiled up, guts grew bold. They meant to teach someone a lesson about running dungeons by the book, mind your steps, don't drag others down. But the moment their eyes met, Van Han pulled from her pouch a neatly folded work of paper art and asked, 300 ghost stars folded into a swan, do you want one? The teammates fell silent, thinking it over. What fault did a player have? Blamed the ghost market for being absurd, an air of pure naivety everywhere, so they bought the swan for 300 ghost stars. Each of the 3 added a flourish and paid 350 ghost stars to take one. Thus the gold-rimmed youth and friends cleared the stage with no worries. While Van Han sold off the ghost stars she had replicated, then used the fresh ones to keep replicating, and everyone saw a bright future. At dusk the paper person ghost arrived on time, the short-haired girl submitted the sailboat and cleared, the gold-rimmed trio submitted their swans, tossed in some bits and bobs, and likewise completed the all-choice mission. Once through they didn't linger, thanked Van Han sincerely and teleported away, not joining the night market, not mentioning a stroll before leaving, just waiting in the room. The short-haired girl asked, so you're a salted fish player? Van Han flopped onto the bed, blissful, no school, no exams, no homework, I adore this place. The girl laughed, alright, the room's yours, sleep in whatever bed you like, and if it's not enough fun, change beds every hour. She packed while speaking, lock the door tight tonight, no matter what knocks, don't open it. There are no other players in this instance, and I won't be back tonight either. Whether I succeed or not, I'll teleport straight out, good luck. Van Han smiled in farewell. The girl was at the threshold when she turned back. I'm Taon, hope we meet again. Night was ink black. Taon wore a special C-rank cloak that masked the breath of the living and moved along the streets. The night market differed greatly from daytime, C-rank ghosts everywhere. With the odd Biana mixed in, Taon hurried and turned into a shabby old funerary shop. I wanna see rank witch's toxic cradle to replace a child and block an ear. Her lips moved yet the voice was clean as a boy's. The shopkeeper, an old crone ghost, wore a hood heavy with fog and tapped the counter, speaking lazily. Where'd a little lass learn I keep a toxic cradle? Taon said. I not only know you have one, I know you like ghost stars. One mouthful price, 1,500 ghost stars. That's a fair offer, sounds like a regular sent you. The crone smacked her lips, then sighed, if you came often I'd agree, but as it happens I mean to swap the cradle for something else, so I must refuse." Taon tensed. "Don't you only like ghost stars? What else do you want? I used to think ghost stars were the height. Who knew there's a thing finer in this world?" the crone lamented. "Don't know where the sugar came from, but the scent, after tasting it this old body couldn't sleep, craving it since." "Sugar?" Taon blinked, took one from her pocket and probed. "This," the crone snatched with quick hands, stole the milk candy and popped it into her mouth with a clack, mumbling, "That's it, how do you have it? Drafted for odd jobs, goods as wages." Stars flashed in the crone's eyes. She rushed. "Who shop, still hiring." The crowd made such a ruckus the owner fled. Taon paused on purpose. "But I do have a little stock left." The crone instantly beamed like a blossom. "Since a regular sent you, I'll hold the toxic cradle for you." Taon rejoiced and promptly offered 1,500 ghost stars and her prepared stash. "I've got 3 milk candies and 4 packs of clear hard tea, all earned on the job. Hope they please you." The crone accepted with feigned modesty and handed over the C-rank toxic cradle. With the item in hand, Taon was overjoyed. Done. Early on the third morning, proceed with the 6th mark. Van Han. "Yes." Mark succeeded. Newbie's fortune added. Marked items multiplied. "Congratulations. You receive 4 packs of milk candy." "Congratulations. You receive 4 boxes of clear hard tea." "Congratulations. You obtain S-rank talent. Disguise. S-rank talent cannot be leveled up. Others using investigation talents below SS rank can only see the talent info you choose to disguise. Please input detailed disguise parameters." A superb talent, worth the days she'd lazed in the instance to reach day 3. Van Han disguised the talent as D-rank, shadow manipulation, and masked her composite strength to D-rank, then left satisfied. "Congratulations, you have cleared a D-rank instance. Your current composite strength is assessed as B-rank for outstanding performance. You receive a reward, ghost stars times 200. Van Han set the 4 packs of milk candy, 4 boxes of clear hard tea, and 200 ghost stars together for replication. Replication successful. Congrats. You triggered 5 critical boons. Congrats. Talent replication rose from B-rank to A-rank. Replication, A-rank talent, may be leveled. You may replicate 5 times per day. The chance to produce 2 to 5 critical multipliers is now high. Use charges reset at the 24th hour and refresh the next day. Van Han felt life was decent now. Each month contest an instance, each run netting several thousand ghost stars and all sorts of ghost cheat money and leisure, joy enough to fly. Yet heaven seemed to scorn her idleness. The Horror Academy sent another letter urging her to register on time. Van Han didn't want to go and called to ask if she could decline the kindness. The voice on the line was unusually grave. "At a full 18 years and not graduated, survival rates in the horror survival game are extremely low. Please treat this seriously." Van Han thought he sounded responsible. "But I truly don't need it. I'll bear all consequences myself." "May I skip?" "You may not. If a freshman fails to register on time, the Academy will dispatch specialists to escort them to enroll." Van Han, speechless. "So it's compulsory enrollment, nothing to be done." Mid-July, Van Han packed light and went to City S where the Horror Academy stood. Clearly it was still the holiday, yet the day after she was assigned a single dorm the Academy arranged a surprise test. First question, in an E-rank instance, if a ghost says you did something wrong and wants to eat you, what do you do? Van Han blinked, then wrote, nitpick it, flip the fault back on it, and eat it. Second, if a ghost says give it an arm and it will spare you, what do you do? Van Han wrote, if the ghost is high rank, move it with sincerity and a gift, if low rank, eat it. Third, and so on. By dusk she'd answered all manner of weird questions. After handing in she went to the dining hall for dinner. As she just scooped her meal a voice cried out in delight, Van Han, why would anyone at the Horror Academy know her? She looked and saw a vaguely familiar face but couldn't place a name. While she searched her memory, the girl ran over. Don't you remember me? I'm Duong T-Ham. We went through the convenience store instance together as newbies. So it's you, Van Han recalled and smiled. How have you been? So. Later I got dragged into a D-rank instance and barely made it out. Duong T-Ham sighed. They say once you're dragged into the horror game your life is tied to it. Every month you get pulled in. Once, there's no way out, only flailing as death draws near. Before Van Han could answer she looked up. They're calling me at the window. I'll grab food and chat after. Wait for me. Grief dissipated. Van Han watched her dash about and chuckled. No wonder the young brim with life. Duong T-Ham returned with a tray and chatted between bites. Heard today is the test, tomorrow the grades, the day after class placements. Van Han was puzzled. Isn't it still summer break? Other schools? Yes. The Horror Academy? No, Duong T-Ham explained. Every 30 days the game drags you back. The Academy has no choice but to gather students early and cram knowledge to raise cohort survival rates. Our batch is late because post-exam vacation made 3-day disappearances hard to spot. During the term a disappearance is noticed at once, after returning from the Yuri world, 1 week and transfers complete. They say the academy turns over faces fast, within less than 3 months it's a whole new batch, few less to graduation. Van Han thought, none of this concerns me, I'll neglect my major for 20 years. The next day, over 100 new students were called to the stadium for the enrollment test. They stood there dazed and whispered, isn't entry just a written exam? Why more testing sites? Sure, but why the stadium? Shouldn't a written be in the teaching block? Thanks for the reminder, I'm panicking now. I have a bad feeling. Then the dean of students took the stage. Since our founding we've tried many teaching approaches to raise student survival rates, with minimal effect. This June we widely listened to student feedback and reformed the curriculum, hoping for better results. The freshmen were blank-faced. What did that mean? Why reform on their turn? Before doubts settled, the dean declared, Phase 2 combat assessment begins. You will fully restore, at 100%. The strategies you wrote yesterday, the freshman gaped. Yesterday I was asked how to clear an E-rank instance. I answered, kill the boss. How now? Drown it in saliva. Worse for me, I didn't know and didn't want to think, so I scribbled. Dispel a ghost's hostility with love. Help, I wrote. If a motor-mouth ghost nags me, give it a slap. Then hug its thigh and beg for mercy. How do I restore that at 100%? Someone raised a hand. How is the combat graded? The dean said. We've invited senior students to fully simulate the question contexts. Whether your strategies are viable depends on whether you can move them. Seniors will score by performance if you can do it and survive from their hands. That question is full marks. The freshmen fell silent. Got it. The seniors breezed into school and now plan to shred our parachutes. This will be a large-scale parachuteering festival drenched in the freshmen's blood and tears, if you understand. Begin. The dean ended and signaled action. Many froze like wood, eyes vacant, faces full of despair. Van Han took her paper to the first testing spot, guarded by a logic major senior wearing sunglasses. Gentlemanly. Question 1. In an E-rank instance, if a ghost says you did wrong and wants to eat you, the answer is HM. You look soft and frail, yet your answer is rather bold. Van Han stayed calm. How do we simulate? No sooner said than the senior turned into a fierce-faced ghost and roared hoarsely. You stepped into test site number 1 with your right foot first. I will eat you. The screech was ghastly. Finding it pure provocation, Van Han provoked harder. Senior, your face offends me. With that, her shadow bared fangs and pounced. The ghost's 10 razor nails sliced the shadow to petals, which split. Half became a black rope that bound the green-faced ghost, half a wide mouth that lunged to chomp him. Not far away, Van Han approached with a ruler in hand. Stop, the senior barked. Van Han refused. I must restore the strategy at 100% until I swallow him. It doesn't count. Do not toy with a senior. The green-faced ghost tore the rope with ox-like force, scowled, and lectured. With D-rank strength you can reverse kill in an E-rank instance. I declare full marks on question 1. The sundered black rope gathered again, looking a touch weary. Van Han glanced from rope to ghost and asked, Senior, what's your composite rank? A steady B. He smoothed back into A. Genteel young man. He stamped Van Han's paper at question 1 with 5 points and D-rank, and growled, when you finish, move on and stop making trouble here. Yes, I'm going. Van Han sighed inwardly. If even a random senior is this strong, the academy truly hides crouching dragons and tigers. Although Dong Jai was arrested at the local police station, it was not light at all. She was convinced she was only filing a false report and had done nothing else wrong. The veteran officer sensed that if this were a real criminal case, her psychological qualities would be excellent. After several investigations, confirming there were no small bomb fragments at the scene, the junior female officer deeply regretted misunderstanding the hero before, and began buying lunchboxes every day for the hero, 2 vegetarian and 2 meat dishes, always reluctant to eat them herself. Dong Jai enjoyed good food, had no psychological pressure, and no urgent work tasks, so in a few days she directly nourished herself. Investigation results came out. The captain finally took her aside to ask, why file a false report? Dong Jai repeated for the nth time, the old boss was in mortal danger. The main building was cracked with no one to repair it. The hotel rooms had shattered mirrors that were ignored. My colleague mentioned the timing, and I was extremely scared, felt the building was unsafe. If unsafe, we could have checked the building's quality. If there were hidden dangers, we would order the hotel to suspend operations, rectify and reform. But you skipped this step and filed a false report, also wanting the guests to leave immediately. The captain looked Dong Jai in the eye, emphasizing each word. This seems like you had a premonition that the building would collapse. NK Books. Yes. Dong Jai nodded frantically. I had a particularly bad premonition then. It felt like a sixth sense telling me to get out, or a major accident would happen. I can't describe this feeling. At my age, it's the first time I felt such anxiety and fear. My female colleague was also terrified. She even called to alert the police, hoping the hotel would evacuate the guests. The receptionist didn't believe her and said she was scaring herself. I really had no choice. If the receptionist had believed her, I wouldn't have needed to file a false report. The captain, oh my. He asked why she was so sure an incident would happen, and voluntarily filed a false report to evacuate everyone? The other party replied that if the receptionist were reliable, she wouldn't need to file a false report. Though events turned out that way, her answer was somewhat off topic. This was not a crime, she ignored everything, saved 70 people, and he was not too strict with her, even interrogating the criminal just to handle her. Police, when will you let me go? Dong Jai said pitifully, I only thought wrong, so I did wrong. Strictly speaking, you only made a minor mistake. But saving so many people can outweigh it. The police didn't reward me, didn't give recognition, still kept me here, not great? Media heard about this, some even wanted to interview me. Dong Jai gestured with her index finger, police, actually I'm in a hurry too, can't stay at the station every day. The captain was curious, what is this about cultivating talent? A few brief sentences, intimidation, negotiation, image cleaning, all handled. Bringing you here was just routine questioning. The captain said sternly, investigation results are out, you have no issues, you may leave. Really? Go home? Dong Jai rejoiced, stood up, and didn't forget to say, thank you, police. The captain stood to escort Dong Jai out. At the lobby, the veteran officer saw a hip-hop youth enter, shouting, kid, what are you doing? Lost face? You threw away the legacy of 18 generations. The youth didn't flinch. When Dong Jai passed by, the youth suddenly avoided the veteran officer, left hand around Dong Jai's neck, right hand drew a small dagger, don't come here. The veteran officer panicked, no need to act rashly. You are just a petty thief, a few days and you'll be released, you've already harmed people seriously. I don't need supervision, the youth said fiercely, you all move aside, I want to go out. The veteran officer and captain coordinated their approach. The youth watched them, eyes unblinking, afraid of being attacked from behind. At this moment, Dong Jai's right hand grabbed the dagger, left hand struck the youth's abdomen. The youth was unprepared, released his grip in pain, half kneeling. Dong Jai spun and kicked the youth's upper shin, no one in the lobby looked for me, when I am easy, am I easy? Speaking, continuous kicks. The female officer rushed to block. The veteran officer quickly pinned the youth and dragged him away. The captain's expression was complex, sorry for scaring you. It's okay. Dong Jai brushed her hair, I had trained before. The captain looked at the female officer, signaling, take her. The female officer understood and quickly escorted Dong Jai out of the station. In a corner, the hip-hop youth lay on the floor baring teeth, you didn't warn her before. Ho, ruthless. Rolling up clothes, seeing he was beaten all over. Don't you feel ashamed? The captain scolded, she couldn't fight back, how will you protect citizens later? The youth smirked, then I can beat citizens, where do I need to protect? The veteran officer smiled secretly. The captain looked, he immediately became serious, Captain, according to my analysis, the premonition that the building would collapse was coincidence. Observing carefully, when Xiao Wang attacked stealthily, Dong Jai had no defense. If the sixth sense were strong, she would have warned in advance, would not have been restrained, only later would counterattack. Xiao Wang nodded, my sudden attack was unexpected for her, instinctive reaction is real. The captain closed eyes in deep thought, later looked up, the female colleague at the level of receptionist called to report danger, who was that? Early spring, warm and cold, cold breeze. Van Han went to rent a house near a mini-mart, bought a large bag of snacks, and on the way home saw a familiar figure in front of the residential area. The other also saw her. Talk? Dong Jai said. These words sounded like a question, but actually left no escape. Van Han quietly caught up. Waiting for Dong Jai at the park on a bench, she took a jar of coffee from her bag. Want some? Dong Jai accepted, sat down. Van Han poured milk tea for herself, sat elsewhere. The old boss got arrested again, Dong Jai said to Van Han, chances of punishment, over a decade, won't get out. Looking at the police investigation report, Van Han showed expression, he deserved it. Hearing professional staff inspect architecture, said the main building sooner or later would collapse. Because of money handling in the building, harming so many, why didn't the old boss enter? At the station, many people watched me. Some thanked me, gave vouchers. Some offered jobs, lots of money, no overtime, promotions with supercars, after 10 years provide a set of rooms. Also, some reporters wanted interviews. Dong Jai said. Really great. Van Han congratulated, fame, money, jobs, immediately everything, worth risking the law with false report. Dong Jai kept silent. Leaving the station, first event was shower, second find Van Han, also called director to fill residency address. Luckily paperwork of collapsed building was buried, family computer still had electronic copy, otherwise she couldn't find. Speak, why find me? Van Han didn't want to sit idly, encouraged to speak. Dong Jai decisively asked, from start to finish, were you acting on me? Instantly, atmosphere was calm. Van Han paused, I don't understand what you mean. Foreseeing danger wasn't me, it was you. NK Books. Dong Jai furious, my ability see clearly detects truth. In other words, my subconscious judged you spoke truth, that's why scared. Vong Trek was like this, hotel collapse too. You deliberately acted anxious, I believed, ran to file false report. In conclusion, I was the tool to report danger? Dong Jai felt more aggrieved. How can I call that acting? Van Han heard ability, see clearly, knew she couldn't hide. She didn't deny, people have many faces. To strangers one face, familiar another, friends different, family different. Sharing one face with someone, alone a different face. In emergencies, knowing which face can bluff officials, won't consciously cut. Not deliberate deceit, just survival instinct. To quickly plan freedom, just in front of Dong Jai acted once. She wondered, if scolding Van Han now, would she be scolding herself? Also, I didn't expect you'd run to file false report, thought to get you out, found reason to call alert. Van Han looked innocent. Dong Jai? The culprit was me? Dong Jai calmed, asked, after hotel collapse, my eyes saw anomalies. You? Same symptom? Meaning in the interface. She spoke vaguely to avoid mentioning others. Van Han replied, I've been like that. Doesn't matter, if unseen, nothing happens, life goes on. Dong Jai got angrier, you still, original plan to split pay, I only give a third. Ordinary worker, originally 25 10,000s, annoyed her, shrank to 17, opponent not hurt? Dong Jai just executed mischievous plan with pleasure, then Van Han said, keep it. I inherit several hundred million, don't need that. Dong Jai, stop talking, destroy it. Thanks to the first supporter. Thanks to the supporter of translation nourishment. Thanks to supporter collecting living references, America Lone Train remembered. Some extreme unexpected comments also stored. Comments in the area about female lead entering vocational school. Principal. How did things end up like this? Dong Jai struggled to recall. At first, she thought Van Han and Zhao Zhishan were similar in youth, innocence, and foolishness. Later, she realized that the innocence was hers, the foolishness was hers, being manipulated was hers, she could not accomplish anything, and only her helpless rage remained hers. Dong Jai could not understand how, as an experienced adult weathered by life, she could be so easily troubled by a petty young girl. After the car accident, did you notice anything unusual? You clearly could sense the danger, yet said nothing was special, and continued as usual. Dong Jai brought up the past. Yes, the car accident didn't show clear signs before or after. Van Han explained, I discovered my sixth sense could warn me, that happened a long time ago. Dong Jai asked again, why deceive? If I hadn't noticed, would you never have told me? Not long after the accident, you realized your abilities had increased, didn't you think to tell anyone? Van Han sipped her milk tea, startled, and replied casually, I only told you to negotiate. I didn't think about negotiating, so no one was informed. Dong Jai was surprised to find the problem was like a boomerang, always coming back to her. She was tired, finally asking, do you have any plans for the future? Van Han thought and replied, find work, live diligently, survive ordinarily. If not, come work at the new company with me. Dong Jai mentioned absent-mindedly. No thanks. Van Han stood, seriously saying, you'd better pray you never meet me, that's relatively fortunate. What nonsense! Without Van Han, she hadn't survived the accident either. To her, meeting Van Han was definitely not a bad thing. Dong Jai poured more coffee, not speaking. Although I deceived you, it was to give you abundant resources and career success without risk, in short, a good trickster. Van Han summarized, then laughed and told Dong Jai, I forgot to mention, your fake rescue appearance looked truly heroic. I am just a tool. Dong Jai turned away, even if I don't show off, you would still find a way to save them. You're wrong. Van Han said honestly, I can never ignore everything like you. Thinking about a fake rescue is one thing, working is another. Strange family fire. Dong Jai muttered, no matter which angle, it's extremely strange. Van Han smiled, maybe so. Dong Jai said nothing further, her mood considerably improved. The old boss went to the prison factory, Van Han wanted to find work. She needed to change jobs relatively often, sometimes every half-month, sometimes every month or two. The turnover wasn't extreme, it was just that companies and old bosses suddenly disappeared. On the third day of her resume submission, Van Han received a letter, we are pleased to inform you your resume has passed our preliminary review. Please come for an interview tomorrow at 9 in the morning, X year X month X day. The letter came from the nursing home. The next morning at 9, Van Han arrived punctually at the nursing home. Staff guided her to the interview office. After a pleasant conversation, Van Han learned the position was a caregiver, mainly keeping the elderly company, showing care and affection, and helping sick seniors gain confidence against illness. Benefits included a monthly salary of 10,000, additional bonuses, meals provided, dormitory accommodation, modest single rooms. The only downside was the schedule, on call 24 hours, with only 2 fixed days off per month. Van Han accepted the job happily, agreeing to start immediately. On the first workday, a senior caregiver took Van Han and another new recruit around to familiarize them with the place and introduce daily routines. Although it's called a nursing home, it's more like a care facility. Inside, many are patients, with professional nurses and doctors handling treatment. Our job is simple. Chat with the elderly, relieve boredom, remind them when it's time to take medicine. Shifts run from 8 in the morning to 5 in the evening, night shift is 5 in the evening to 8 in the morning. Meals are available in the cafeteria 24 hours. The cafeteria chef is specially invited from outside, excellent cooking, you'll see. The other new recruit was a young man of 20, labeled caregiver, no bang. Hearing about the top chef, he got excited, 4 years of college, worried about toxic food. Hearing meals included at the interview, I was concerned, now I can finally relax. The three went along a grass patch. Nearby, an elderly person sat in a wheelchair in the sun. Another elder sat on a wicker chair, paired with another, chatting happily, looking content. The senior caregiver led Van Han and No Bang, greeting the elderly, Grandpa, Grandma Lu, Grandma, these are our new caregivers, Van Han, No Bang. Hello. No Bang stepped forward, chatting cheerfully, Grandma, did you do your hair? So stylish, beautiful. Grandma laughed, unable to close her mouth, complimenting the boy sweetly, no worries about finding a girlfriend later. Grandma Lu glanced at Van Han, increasingly pleased. Such a fine girl, do you have a boyfriend? Van Han, momentarily gloomy, quickly lifted a smiling face. No, none. Doesn't matter, I can introduce. Grandma Lu said enthusiastically, I'm a college graduate, fit, talented, well-raised. You two would be perfect. No need, no need. Van Han smiled, refusing. Grandma, I already have someone in my heart. Ah. Grandma Lu was extremely regretful, after a while said, Dear girl, if one day you reconsider, remember to tell me. I know many handsome young men. All right. Van Han agreed with a smile. After speaking with Grandma Lu, Grandpa Tu pulled Van Han aside. Caregiver jobs here allow only one outing every half-month. As a young girl, are your parents at ease? Van Han stiffened, then smiled. My parents respect my choice, everything is up to me. Enlightening. Grandpa Tu felt emotional. Such parents are rare, everyone worries unnecessarily. Actually, grandchildren bring their own luck, why worry so much? After 15 minutes, the senior caregiver and grandparents said goodbye, ready to take the new recruits elsewhere. I won't go. Van Han stopped. I just realized I'm not very suited for this job, resigning is better. She turned toward the director's office. You want to resign? The director looked surprised. Yes. Van Han replied firmly. If I recall, during the interview you said you had extensive work experience, fear neither hardship nor fatigue, and could do anything? The director's expression was complex. That's correct. Van Han was not fazed. Today, I realized chatting with elderly is more difficult than I thought. The director couldn't understand, our elders are mostly ordinary. As long as you interact with them, it shouldn't be hard. Van Han was silent. She knew that without clear explanation, others would not understand, so she said bluntly, I never had grandparents or a grandfather, only lived with my grandmother. My parents died when I was 10, grandmother when I was 18, I never thought to mention these things. But my grandparents truly cared about family chores. Casual chatting while suddenly lowering respect and forcing a smile was too exhausting, so resigning is better for everyone. The director was stunned, silent for a long time. If you have nothing else to say, I'll consider your resignation accepted. Her first day hadn't even begun officially, so resigning was uncomplicated. Van Han prepared to leave. Wait. The director called her back. If caregiving isn't suitable, how about another role? Van Han stopped, slowly turning. The director explained, our newly opened home has many vacant positions, kitchen assistant, cafeteria server, gardener. Doctor's assistant. No professional knowledge needed, just keep records of patients, tidy up, do minor paperwork. Even if displeased inside, outwardly show a smile, chat pleasantly with the elderly. I personally admire this attitude. Hope you consider staying. Van Han thought, having previous kitchen experience, this should be doable. Van Han understood kitchen assistant, washing and chopping vegetables, plating food. In fact, kitchen assistant room 203 elderly lady too sick to come to cafeteria. You bring her meals. Van Han looked dumbfounded. The job title basically meant runner. Yet running errands overall was manageable, and she had experience. Van Han carefully carried meal boxes in plastic bags, with rice, 2 dishes, 1 soup, gently bringing them to room 203. Not yet near the other residents, she looked up into the distance. On the top floor, someone jumped, seconds later limping slowly with a cane approached, intending to return to rest with another elder. Finally, the two fell into a pool of blood. Van Han froze. At the same time, No Bang shouted in panic, not good. Someone jumped. Hearing the alarm, security rushed to the scene. Because the fall was gruesome, they quickly covered the body with a white cloth to avoid traumatizing other residents. The action was fast, reactions quick, though a few nearby elders still couldn't handle it. Someone glanced over, murmuring, isn't that Elder Duong? Others ahead, Society of Your Dong's Sister Van Han ahead, Little Dong tacked asterisk extra content translated is gathered here. Next to the elderly man, you immediately spoke, and I responded in turn. Old Yang is a pitiful man, his wife has long passed away. He has been both father and mother, raising his son. When the son gets married, he retired and fell gravely ill. He had often said he no longer wanted to live, the illness unbearable. But his filial son insisted, no matter how much money it took, he would cure him. At that time, I thought, with such a filial son, old Yang's life was not wasted. At that moment, someone nearby exclaimed, "Where is his son's filial piety?" Clearly, he is eyeing old Yang's pension. Tens of thousands a month, deducting every expense, the remainder is still higher than the son's salary. I passed by that day, old Yang's door slightly ajar, heard everything clearly. His son knelt crying, recounting, saying he wanted to support his child, pay off house and car loans, and indulge in luxuries. The monthly salary wasn't enough. Without old Yang's help, absolutely impossible. The meaning between the lines was to keep old Yang from dying, to live 2 more years. After a few years, when the burden lightened, old Yang wanted to die, and he did not stop him. They say raising children and caring for the elderly, but in the end, when the elderly are gone, life and death are not in their own hands. This left the other elderly stunned. Old Yang was sick and unwilling to live. His son prevented him from dying for money? Could such a thing exist? Before, old Yang alone could influence his son, now the son with his daughter-in-law, their combined salaries aren't enough? With plenty of money, one can manage, with little money, one struggles. The son still can't make ends meet. Old Yang must have choked for a long time, unable to bear it, so he mercilessly jumped. How can you explain such coincidence? The moment he jumped, it hit a passerby. So, it said, no need for heaven to throw trash, you can't even throw yourself. Causing trouble for others. The elderly sobbed, for old Yang, and for the innocent passerby who died. Van Han observed for a moment, then quietly left. On the bed, there were 6 elderly in total. Van Han paced several times, serving them meals. Finally she asked, why not use a small cart to deliver food together? The chef explained, each patient has dietary differences, delivering together risks mistakes. Prepared food can be labeled with markers on plastic bags for each room. Van Han suggested, or prepare food everyone can eat, safer. Not allowed. The chef disagreed. Van Han tried to argue, the chef glared, are you lazy, not willing to work? No, Van Han denied. Then do more, stop talking. The chef aggressively led Van Han to eat. After finishing, it was afternoon, the dining hall empty. She took some food casually, ate her rice. The chef's skill matched experience, pork belly flavorful without greasiness, soup mixed with rice filled a big bowl. Considering the many elderly, many dishes were light, but staff could still have pork. Everyone satisfied. Van Han finished, took a few glutinous rice dumplings as snack. She went outside, someone fell before her. Van Han instinctively caught them. Sorry, slipped. They kept apologizing. Van Han recognized it was an acquaintance, previously invited with her by No Bang, be careful. Van Han said, letting them continue. In a deserted corner, she reached out, and a small note was pressed into her palm, No Bang unsteady. Opening it, messy handwriting read, back warehouse, need to talk. Van Han tore the note, wandered the nursing home, familiarizing herself with the surroundings, arriving at the warehouse. How did you get here? I thought you wouldn't come. No Bang exclaimed, panicked, this nursing home is really strange. Why? Van Han asked. Someone jumped from a building, another died. Later, I attended other elderly, chatting. They got tired and slept, I left quietly. Half an hour later, went to call her for lunch, saw a venomous snake by the window. So shocking. No Bang flailed hands, clearly terrified. Van Han startled, are you sure it's venomous? It's venomous. Bit an elderly. I dared to check, they had no breath or pulse. How can 2 accidents happen in one day? This nursing home must be faulty. Later, I realized I didn't have the initial profile. Suddenly received a package, interview already arranged through initial profile. I was so scared, thought a thief would escape. The door guarded, can't enter or exit freely. Staff, elderly, must write request, director approval needed to go out. Isn't this disguised imprisonment? Van Haan wondered, why is there a venomous snake in the building? How did it get in? The elderly said they were bored, so I opened the window. No Bang panicked, raised the window screen. She was displeased, said still bored, forced me to remove screen. Result, inattention led to the accident. Van Haan asked, how did you handle it? How else? Remove the corpse, snake dead, don't tell others to avoid panic, announce elderly died in sleep. You're not scared? No Bang doubted himself, almost terrified. Van Haan straightforward, although many initial profiles exist, company and position, I understand. Receiving the package, I knew, didn't seek position, they approached me. So you still dare interview? No Bang terrified. Job's hard to find now, a company willing to take me isn't easy. No Bang stared at Van Haan, speechless. In the whole nursing home, only they two were new staff. He thought Van Haan unique. Really strange. Van Haan recalled, warning sought director, said I couldn't serve, thought to resign. She gave many options, I transferred. She didn't want me to leave? No Bang's hair stood, could this be a malicious company? Behind, some black enterprise, killing to harvest organs? Not that extreme? Van Haan doubted, do elderly care about organs? No Bang added, the elderly just started, sick and old, accidents, others assume unintended. Elder also has inheritance, nursing home could fake will, seize estate? Van Haan looked, if worried, call police. I dare not. Suspected unlawful confinement, tried calling police, phone rejected, said not serviced here. Then, Van Haan thought, afternoon, I'll ask director. No Bang? You ask, she would tell? Encounter danger now. Don't worry, I'm fine. But you, stay safe. Van Haan went to director. Wait. No Bang hesitated, from now to today end, don't go to elderly. Van Haan paused, familiar alert for rescue. She turned, asked, do you usually sense danger? What are you saying? No Bang panicked, stammered, I have a strange feeling, not certain. But to prevent, avoid, clever, I can too. Van Haan said. No Bang stunned. In the nursing home, only Van Haan was with him. Van Haan sought director, No Bang hesitated, finally caught up. He said, if you can't return, I hear not scared to death? Better to die together, we can watch each other. Van Haan let him. Compared to that morning, director's room had 2 strong bodyguards. Not yet near, guards blocked. Step aside, I have business with director. Van Haan said. Guards stood on either side. One said, director not available. Other said, return to internal duties, unrelated to you. Van Haan, unwilling to listen, wanted the director, don't let me through, I'll act. Guards glanced, simultaneously tried to restrain Van Haan, she stayed calm. Van Haan stepped up, kicked, one curled like shrimp. Other panicked, struck 12 times, ineffective. 2 guards fell prone. No Bang initially covered eyes, saw Van Haan succeed, asked, so you can fight like that? No skill points, dare interview nursing home? Van Haan said, pushing. Open director's 7th door. No Bang, she scolds me. The tycoon probably noticed, this book differs from before. Situation is like this. Writing Infinite Survival Game, many readers commented confusion. Considering I wrote cold themes, later adjusted difficulty, lowered reading threshold. eventually became habit, writing continuously. Previous pit, readers in 5th grade read my novel. Me. Thinking if overdoing, now I treat prior writing, not using tricks once, still fine, slightly challenging reading. Poke Tycoon, be obedient. On the way, No Bang had actually advised Van Han, maybe you should ask the director, but she might not tell the truth, so why don't we go back first and think of another approach? Van Han replied, the reason you can't get answers is because the posture is wrong. No Bang was still curious, how could posture affect asking questions? He tried to imagine but failed, realizing his imagination was utterly limited. Following Van Han to the director's office, No Bang finally understood the correct questioning posture. He saw Van Han grab the director's collar with her left hand, hoisting her up against the wall, her legs dangling. In this posture, how could anyone speak? No Bang could not help but admire her. The director, pinned to the wall with eyes wide, still addressed Van Han, your abilities differ from the records. The records only state you can sense danger in advance, not that your strength is such that you can fight like this. Van Han told her, not everyone with strength shows it off, I only use it at critical moments, like now. How strong? 4? 5? Or more than 6, the director asked curiously. Van Han increased the pressure slightly, saying, I have questions for you, not the other way around. Recognize your position. The director gasped, unable to breathe, struggling, I can't breathe. Van Han slightly loosened her grip, pressing, tell me, how did you find us? The director looked at No Bang, strength 0.9, agility 0.9, endurance 0.9, spirit 1.7. Ah. No Bang looked confused. Van Han actually understood it vaguely. The director turned to Van Han with a smile, I can't see through. I am Spirit 4.7, my superpower is investigation, allowing me to see people with lower spirit in the 4 attribute categories. That damn superpower. Van Han muttered a low curse. Last time was the same, she had tricked the agent, and once Dong Jai awakened her superpower, she immediately realized it didn't match. This time was the same, without investigating fully, just because she could see through him, she knew there was a problem. Could life continue like this? Van Han felt a hint of despair. What are you talking about? No Bang was completely lost. I am saying, the director rolled her eyes evasively, I know your matter. One day someone warned that a sculpture at the mall would fall, blocking pedestrians from passing underneath. Workers thought you were causing trouble, deliberately obstructing business, and called the police. You were taken by police for disturbance. 3 hours later, the sculpture actually fell, affecting 7 pedestrians, 5 dead and 2 injured. How did you know? No Bang's hair stood on end, feeling exposed, standing bare under the sun. I am Bak Kyo, director of the finance division. All strange or rare news is sent to me. The director explained, I select and observe personally. I can tell from afar who has special abilities. Impossible. No Bang did not believe it, this financial corporation earns hundreds of billions each year, already rich, so why bother with cruel dealings restricting citizens' freedom? Everything has a reason, but I cannot tell you. The director sighed, life, it's better this way. Nonsense. No Bang, furious, began cursing, based on what is better. Those BCDEFG people don't get to live? What about talent and discrimination? I tell you, life is equal, even without talent, even without getting A, people still have the right to live in this world. Completely incomprehensible. Van Han sniffled, because only those rated A or above can know the truth of the world. Next, take him outside since he cannot hear. The director told Van Han, all nursing home staff are my colleagues, no one will harm him. Don't go, No Bang panicked, feeling that without Van Han, he had no one. Go. Van Han comforted him, if anything happens to you, I will avenge you. No Bang was initially happy, then felt uneasy. While full of questions, the bodyguards rushed him away. The director's door closed, leaving only the director and Van Han in the room. Let go. Aren't you tired of pinching my neck? The director tried to ease the mood. If you want, I can show you my work records. Van Han released her grip. Pinching is just a method to make you tell the truth. If you cooperate, pinching isn't necessary. The director finally got down from the wall, rubbing her pinched neck, asking Van Han, "What do you want to know?" "Everything." Van Han was straightforward. "How do you know me?" "What do you know?" "Why did you come find me?" "I called Bakvai, 33 years old, director of the finance division. I dealt with food poisoning incidents, helped others urge rescue, saved over 20 people before, all facts confirmed." Director Bakvai gestured Van Han to sit. Facing unexpected incidents, directly saving 10 or more people qualifies for a rank. But reaching A isn't for showing off, it's when nightmares begin. Seeing the interface, I realized the seriousness, wanted to report to superiors. Here she emphasized, I had notes, but I thought all difficulties could be solved. The important part is reporting to superiors, then informing everyone. Unluckily, I reported on the third day. Superiors got caught in the incident, dying while saving others unexpectedly. Later, after various tests, we replaced evolution game with cannot be disclosed while avoiding its premise, recounting humanity facing a major risk objectively. Because no one knew in advance, how could they report without harming them? Unable to grasp the crowd, we decided to spend heavily recruiting volunteers for experiments. Volunteers were seriously ill, with suicidal tendencies, or determined to die. You think I'm saying the nursing home is a laboratory? Here, elderly are told evolution game exists, hence frequent unexpected incidents? Van Han was speechless. Who do you think you are, overriding the law, deciding life and death? Bakvai asked, if the risk is near 100%, danger to humanity, potentially extinction, should nothing be done? Van Han was silent. Nearly 5 years, annual accidental deaths tenfold compared to 5 years prior, and trend is rising. I cannot just let it continue. Bakvai continued. Food poisoning, gas leaks, explosions, fires, earthquakes. Once they know evolution game exists, the association cannot foresee accidental events, taking lives. To solve this, I always collected intelligence on those forewarned of danger. In fact, 5 were invited this time, but only you and No Bang arrived. Research shows females with high spirit attribute have special advantage, also called females with keen sixth sense. When spirit is low, sixth sense reacts vaguely, even the person doesn't know what it wants. As spirit increases, a vague feeling emerges, urging to act. At Breakthrough 3, true superpower manifests, clarifying what the feeling indicates, also understanding how to apply abilities. Strength, agility, endurance, and reason. Conveniently, outside there were 2 bodyguards, 1 strength over 3, 1 endurance over 3, both knocked down by you. Van Han listened silently. After all that, you still haven't said why you brought me and No Bang here. Bakvai replied decisively, foreseeing danger, avoiding it, rescuing everyone. I wanted to save them, so I required your strength. Did the elderly know what happened? Van Han asked. No, Bakvai answered. Van Han frowned, then heard her continue. Prior investigation conducted. If tomorrow they will die, they hope to know, fearfully live today, or choose ignorance, meeting the unexpected in dying. They choose ignorance. So I arranged many discussions. 1. Being, if reality is a game. They considered it a hypothetical, a discussion. Thus, Van Han astutely realized if only one side is informed, they won't believe evolution game exists, judged as illegal alarmist? Correct. Bakvai admitted, this complicates my work. Sometimes casual words, careless phrasing, could endanger colleagues. Van Han asked, why me? The syrup incident, you first led colleagues, saved 11 people. Bakvai counted carefully. New World Hotel collapsed first, you and Dong Jai reported danger, she couldn't foresee it. Previously, you went out at night to buy snacks, encountered robbers with knives, you subdued them and took them to the police. Investigation revealed prior serious illness, after recovery, strength, agility, and endurance slightly higher. You could catch him, proving physical attributes differ from normal. Although, Bakvai said while glancing outside, not sure if above 3 standards. Can only say your records are incomplete, you rarely use powers, so data insufficient. Van Han felt slightly headache. This superpower really explains nothing. Previously, she had no clue stopping the robbers was unusual. Anything else? Van Han asked, what else do you know? We are investigating your place of origin. Send someone ahead locally to conduct a deeper inquiry. The more they discover, the more interesting the objects become. Bakvai presented a stack of documents. The Van family, I heard, is a long line of courtesans. Not only are all their children born female, but from the moment they start growing up, they display astonishing talent. And you, from the day you were born, naturally carry a powerful sixth sense. From childhood to now, you have produced early warnings, a whole batch, all accurate. Bakvai indicated the thick stack of papers. No wonder you are a tycoon. After so many years, all have altered urban lifestyles, yet the old emperor's calendar could still be predicted. Van Han laughed self-mockingly. As long as an event occurs, there are traces. With traces, it can be traced, whether recorded on paper or remembered by people. Bakvai showed expression. I have experienced many unintended incidents, and know a lot of intelligence. As long as you are willing to keep it, I can tell you all the intelligence. For example? Van Han asked. After a moment of thought, Bakvai slowly said, the scope of a dungeon is often much larger than expected. Events involving death, or leading to fatalities, are counted as dungeon events. Even if someone suffers severe illness, enduring through and recovering gradually still gains attribute points. In short, escaping death allows one to gain commendation points. Participants, whether the first to escape danger within the time limit, or those who later manage to survive, as long as they live, will gain attribute rewards after the dungeon ends. If one can save many people before finishing a dungeon, the evaluation will be higher, along with abundant attribute rewards. There are 3 ways to gain attribute points. 1. Innate talent. For example, you have had a super sixth sense since childhood, the spirit attribute starts with a high base. 2. Participating in many dungeons, or achieving high evaluations in dungeons, grants attribute points. 3. Potential activation. In peaceful times, someone may have talent that seems ordinary. Once faced with danger, their potential is activated. Usually, the first encounter with death provides the greatest stimulus, the highest chance of explosive attribute points. The second, third times gradually form a habit, potential is considered already activated, and the gains are not as high. After 3 times, almost impossible, unless specially approaching death to find a way to survive. Van Han thought of Dong Jai. Initially meeting, she felt nothing special. After the first traffic accident, conversations always inadvertently revealed the truth one tried to hide. Now, recalling, Dong Jai brushed past death, increasing not only physical quality, but also the sixth sense. Physical qualities are relatively obvious, but the sixth sense may not always be consciously perceived. Keeping it is not only to help me, but also to save the elders' lives. Bakvai looked at Van Han, silently waiting for a response. I will not go for now. Van Han expressed her attitude while suddenly realizing that she had previously run deliveries to the apartments, hiding her true intentions behind the food boxes. Where were the food boxes sent? They were meant to gauge the vital signs of the elderly. That is enough. Seeing the person finally restrained, Bakvai sighed softly. Outside, the bodyguards explained the situation once to No Bang, who could understand. As soon as Van Han arrived, No Bang ran over and whispered, I reviewed their work, it is true. The elders were cursed, encountering unexpected events. Gao Chao Finance Group intended to assist them, hence they brought us here. I tell you, whatever I experienced, they knew. Once spoken, there was no deceit between them. Van Han simply asked, what exactly is your ability? No Bang smiled embarrassedly, my ability is capricious. At some day, month, year, some event happens for some reason. If it is a complete record, all information would be included, but my ability is like a summary, providing only half the information. The day, place, cause of occurrence are random, no specific details known. So when you ask me, honestly, I am quite clueless. Also, this ability does not respond to every unexpected event. If someone jumps from a building, I am not warned. If a venomous snake enters the house, I am not told. Van Han comforted him, perhaps your ability will improve. No Bang sulked, this ability appeared suddenly some time ago. I still do not understand how it works or how it improves. Van Han could not tell him experiencing the risk of death twice could increase it. His ability is sometimes effective, sometimes not. What if it fails now? Then let it be fate. Van Han said, no need to compare. No Bang considered this reasonable. Right, what about the elders? Van Han asked. Don't say, No Bang sighed, one took the wrong medicine, another suddenly fell ill before taking medicine. Though Van Han heard this and was silently shocked at the mortality risk. Is there a control room? Yes, come with me. A bodyguard volunteered to lead the way. Van Han caught up with No Bang. You said you can foresee your ability, what kind of ability is it? No Bang asked curiously. You'll know soon. Entering, they saw hundreds of panels hung together, showing conflicting real-time information, drawing the observer deeply in. No Bang, the more I look, the more sinister it seems. Not only illegal detainment, but monitoring every corner. Van Han approached a screen, observing quickly on one side, while explaining to No Bang, you can see others' death aura, knowing that the aura will linger for 1 to 3 days. Later, you feel your ability strengthening, gradually judging whether you are in danger. If you are, your eyelids twitch sharply. If an incident is about to occur in the next 15 minutes to half an hour, you feel your heart race. The more serious the incident, the more pronounced the heartbeat. Perhaps because the sixth sense is heightened, it seems like a slight transformation. Beside him, No Bang stared in astonishment. Comparing with his own, Van Han's ability is overwhelmingly strong. So you, No Bang wanted to ask, how is this done? Could the ability really improve? How does it improve? If he uses it, could his super ability follow the general trend? Unexpectedly, Van Han looked. Her expression suddenly changed. Something happened in the dining hall. Saying this, she stepped back. Security staff, hearing this, took it seriously and rushed outside. No Bang watched the screen in confusion. Approaching dusk, which coincided with elders having dinner, on the screens, elders in the dining hall ate normally, no sign of disorder. He could not help but marvel, is this the foresight of someone powerful? Everyone behaved normally, yet the danger was anticipated? In the dining hall, a D placed soup for one side and spoke to an elderly man, this mushroom soup is excellent. Not only tasty, it helps prevent cardiovascular and cerebrovascular disease, resists aging, benefits blood sugar and circulation. The old man laughed, good, I'll taste it. Van Han entered the hall, noticing several elders' death auras intensifying. From the control room, it was alarming. Her gaze worriedly scanned around. She noticed other elders at windows were normal, only the mushroom soup at that window caused the aura to darken like ink, spreading rapidly, nearly engulfing the elder. Van Han hurriedly stopped him, do not eat. Why? The elder was surprised. Xiao Van works in the kitchen, perhaps today the soup was over-seasoned? Even if the taste is fine, it cannot be given to the elders. A D, while lifting the lid, removed the soup container, pretending there was no soup today. Following guards helped mediate, if the soup is undrinkable, I'll fetch rice instead. Then they moved the elder to another window. I thought to eat the soup, the old man objected. Tomorrow. Tomorrow the brew will taste better. The guards half advised, half lifted him away. Van Han saw the elder's previously dense black death aura turn to ash again, and she sighed in relief. At this moment, the medical staff arrived. Van Hun pointed to two elders, indicating they be taken for spraying and ideally a body check. The medical staff nodded and dispersed energetically. Hey, how can you drink mushroom soup and eat chicken? Didn't I say your illness forbids excess? The doctor feigned anger. Ah. The old lady was confused. Didn't you tell me to eat some mushrooms and a little meat daily? Could I have remembered wrong? She began doubting herself. Old lady, nonsense. Let's go for a checkup. Do not eat and make mistakes. The doctor instructed, and the old lady could not object. Half her meal eaten, she followed drowsily. Nearby, a nurse exclaimed, "Hey, everyone said afternoon check, need empty stomach, why are you running to eat now?" The elder froze. When did you tell me the afternoon check requires an empty stomach? That was never said. Suddenly he felt drowsy and wanted to sleep. Not good. The patient's condition is worsening. Take him to surgery immediately, the nurse shouted. Others rushed to assist. Soon, the elderly man, semi-conscious, was lifted onto a wheelchair and quickly taken to the dining hall. Others watching felt incredulous. They are old, memory fades, all become forgetful, yet the doctor dares to forget. Follow the doctor's instructions carefully, cannot forget, cannot make mistakes. I fear causing trouble myself, so I write it down and carry it personally. This method is good, I will do the same in the future. Cannot be like them and cause more trouble. The elders, harmonious and happy, continued eating, a scene of unity. Half an hour later, the investigation results came in. The bodyguard reported in a low voice, samples taken for testing show the mushroom soup is indeed poisonous, eating it causes severe diarrhea. If given to young people, it may just make them unwell, but for the elderly, consuming a lot could endanger their lives. Fortunately, it was discovered early, only 4 elderly have eaten the soup, while 2 have not yet drunk it. The 2 who finished drinking were prevented from suffering serious consequences. Who would think of making mushroom soup? Bakvai frowned. What's the current situation? Does the kitchen know? This type of mushroom is an ingredient, shouldn't it have been avoided first? The chef said a little mushroom is beneficial for the elderly and believed this mushroom was non-toxic, so he used it in the soup. The bodyguard sighed. After checking the ingredients, it was found that non-toxic mushrooms mixed with poisonous ones caused the food poisoning. The non-toxic mushrooms are larger and sparse, the poisonous ones smaller and denser. When together, they are hard to distinguish. Strangely, these poisonous mushrooms were never seen before, they may be a new species. Hearing this, Bakvai felt a wave of helplessness. The situation ahead was the same, nothing existed before, but with the game evolution present afterward, everything inevitably leaks, hard to prevent. The poisonous mushroom incident is considered resolved. No Bang says tonight something will happen in the upper apartment, though the exact time and details are unknown. The bodyguard continued reporting. Send people to inspect and increase night patrols to ensure the safety of the elderly, Bakvai instructed. When a large bucket of mushroom soup was spilled during handling, Van Han received a notification. Congratulations to the player for completing Dungeon 113888 Poisonous Mushrooms, Food Poisoning Event, still surviving by luck. Because you identified the source of the accident and promptly destroyed it, preventing further danger and saving more lives. Rated A, rewarded attributes, Strength plus 0.2, Agility plus 0.2, Stamina plus 0.2, Spirit plus 0.2. In an instant, she felt the world shift. Looking around, Van Han noticed that besides the aura of death, some elderly had lines of text appearing on their bodies. Estimated time to death, 4 hours 17 minutes 23 seconds. Estimated time to death, 4 hours 12 minutes 49 seconds. Estimated time to death, 4 hours 26 minutes 11 seconds. The numbers kept decreasing, resembling a life countdown. Think carefully, apart from today and apartment, what key information remains? The patrol team had found no issues. The head bodyguard worriedly kept asking No Bang. No Bang went crazy, his sixth sense like a stubborn child, throwing scraps of paper with only fragments, no complete sentences. He wanted to know the real situation, but the sixth sense gave no response. What could he do? He hated that he could not blind himself to avoid facing the head bodyguard's questioning. After a while, having been interrogated too many times, No Bang finally lost patience. Shut up. Ask suicide again. The head bodyguard, room 406, 9 p.m., send someone to inspect. Van Han said. The head bodyguard first froze, then immediately arranged security. After dinner, Lao Lu used the small water heater, then went to bed early. His plan was solid: sleep first, prepare hot water at night for urination. Unexpectedly, his eyelids grew heavy, and with the rising steam, he slowly fell asleep. New electric water heaters posed no issue, but Lao Lu used the old type, which required someone to turn off the power to stop it. When the water boiled over, a fire started. 2 night patrol staff entered, quickly removed jackets and extinguished it. One, still fearful, said, almost became a fire disaster. The other sniffed a smell of alcohol, uncertain, is there alcohol in the room? They found 2 bottles of white liquor in the wardrobe. The patrol realized the fire started from the heater, burned the wooden furniture, then the alcohol acted as fuel. If they hadn't arrived early, the consequences would have been disastrous. Colleagues stunned, the elderly liver not good, yet stealing alcohol? Don't want to live? They glanced at each other. Deep sleep. The elderly didn't wake for half a day. Congratulations to the player for completing Dungeon 113892 Fire Incident, still surviving by luck. Receiving the notice, Van Han knew the risk was temporarily mitigated. Soon, the bodyguard received reports that the fire was successfully prevented. The head bodyguard looked at Van Han in surprise, seemingly asking, "How did you know?" Since the two had special abilities, their precognition was normal, no further questioning. Van Han thought, observing the elderly, noting impending death, promptly intervened. The following 2 days, the elderly continuously encountered accidents unexpectedly, frequency high, events excessive, constantly changing. Even though Van Han and No Bang repeatedly warned, staff cooperated, the General Assembly couldn't monitor in time. Any oversight, elderly numbers fell short. Continuous 3 days, stress high, rest insufficient, elderly fatigued. Van Han realized the nursing home lacked personnel. Despite full roster positions, over 24 hours, day/night shifts divided, staff insufficient. The director had sent notices only to trick Van Han and No Bang, content largely inaccurate. For example, caretakers worked from 8 a.m. to 5 p.m., overtime to protect elderly, who would refuse. No Bang embarrassed. 3 consecutive days, besides 7 hours sleep, 17 hours spent activating sixth sense, striving to gain more reminders. Going down like this, could sudden death be prevented? No Bang slept 7 hours, staff only 3 to 4 hours daily. Repeatedly, he worried about staff health. Van Han analyzed, missing a third of the elderly, delayed detection, assume accidental deaths, few people nearby, creates an illusion age is not much different. No Bang jumped up, impossible? At that moment, a report came, room 303, elderly ingested large dose of sleeping pills, unresponsive. No Bang extremely frustrated, we eat poorly, sleep poorly, risk our lives to save them, yet they still attempt suicide? No one answered. Emotional pressure spread, doubts arose, are our efforts in vain? Can we really save them? After 3 days, situation showed no improvement, unexpected events increased. Would things eventually turn? Recall, forewarned and prevent danger, save everyone, that was only the director's words, from the start, it was wrong? Van Han said. No Bang speechless. Before, he only worried whether the elderly could continue going down. Van Han's words suppressed morale. If from the beginning it was wrong, persistence is futile. At this moment, the room was silent, atmosphere heavy. Eating poisonous mushrooms, food poisoning is real. Mushrooms appear chaotic. No need to forcibly like bakvai, disliking is normal. The female protagonist contemplates philosophically, sending off the old boss. The 4th day. Van Han was in the observation control room watching, when suddenly loud noises came from outside. What now? No Bang, who had just experienced incidents that startled and terrified him, had gradually fallen silent, truly having endured too much during this time. The grass is on fire. There are elderly people trapped inside, unable to escape. Grasping the situation, the security staff immediately sprang into action, rushing outside. Only Van Han and No Bang remained in the control room. No Bang leaned over and quietly asked, "Aren't you going?" Van Han looked at him without a word. "Lately, you've predicted many unforeseen events, doesn't this respond to you?" No Bang asked again. Van Han still said nothing, after a while shifting her gaze to the screen. At this moment, a security guard returned to the control room, seemingly guiding colleagues through the radio to fight the fire and rescue people. No Bang shrank back into a corner, not daring to say a word. At this moment, the grass and surrounding fields were ablaze. Because the grass was very dry, the fire spread extremely fast. The elderly were frightened, rushing onto open ground. However, they were too old to move quickly. Some could only walk with walking sticks, others could only sit in wheelchairs and be pushed alone. Seeing the flames approaching, they could only helplessly shout, "Someone come! Save me, save me!" But the number of experienced helpers was limited. Pushing wheelchairs, elderly scrambling, they could not act. At the critical moment, a frail elderly man stood up. "Anyone whose legs are weak? Come here, I'll push you out." He sat in a wheelchair himself, yet under the special circumstances, he came forward, also calculating to push others to safety. "Thank you, thank you." A gray-haired elderly lady was lifted, leading the group in a wheelchair. The elderly man pushed the wheelchair swiftly across the open ground, letting people dismount, then returned to push more wheelchairs. "Next, who's up?" Back and forth several times. By the time the security arrived to start extinguishing the fire, he was exhausted and breathing heavily. But even so, he persevered, bringing immobile elderly people to safety. Step by step, like ants clearing the path, the elderly were gradually moved to a safe place. Once everyone had escaped danger, the elderly lay on the ground, exhausted, legs and belly trembling. Just then, the fire was extinguished, and a transparent interface appeared before the elderly. "Welcome to join the evolution game. Congratulations to the player for surviving the number 114032 dungeon cigarette fire accident. Because you saved 10 humans, the Overseer rated A, awarding attribute points, strength plus 0.2, agility plus 0.2, stamina plus 0.2, and spirit plus 0.2. Note 1, the Overseer's rating reaches a level or above at least once, only then can the player know evolution game exists. Through an abnormal path, you first discover it and gain the misfortune bound debuff. Achieving a level or above once, the misfortune bound debuff is automatically removed. You have achieved a level rating, the misfortune bound debuff has been removed. Note 2, adult male attribute standards, strength 0.6, agility 0.6, stamina 0.6, spirit 0.5. Single attribute values surpassing 3, 6, 9 unlock special abilities. A long block of text directly made the elderly stunned. After security investigated the cause of the incident, they finally traced it. The fire started because a cigarette was not extinguished. An elderly smoker, careless, threw the cigarette butt, which landed on the grass. The weather was dry, and a small spark set the grass ablaze. After investigation, the elderly person who threw the cigarette was disciplined, and the incident was concluded. At the same time, Director Bak Vi looked at Van Han seriously. "Do you have nothing to say?" Over the past few days, small accidental gaps were predictable, but major incidents were foreseeable. This time, without prior warning, obviously someone hid information. "Yes." Van Han nodded seriously. "Director, I thought of resigning." Bak Vi looked up, afraid seeing the elderly continuously in danger. "Not afraid." Van Han calmly explained, "It's not the Grim Reaper chasing to kill, just illegally boarding a vehicle. the Grim Reaper follows to issue extra tickets, nothing to fear. Meaning? Bakvai asked seriously. The note clearly states, the Overseer rating reaches a level or above at least once, only then can the player know evolution game exists. Van Han said steadily, if not reaching a, yet notified unexpectedly, doesn't that mean the rating needs to be upgraded first? That is my speculation. I chose some relatively reliable elderly, implying they might encounter unexpected events later, and need to rescue others if necessary. When the fire breaks out, most could only save themselves, with no extra strength to rescue others. Even if possible, only one or two could be saved. Fortunately, there were veteran elders, stronger than normal elderly. From fire start to end, just enough to save 10 people. He told me, through abnormal path discovery, you will gain the misfortune-bound debuff. Achieve a level once or above, the debuff is automatically removed. I have told you the solution, the rest is up to you. So many elderly, you just watched them die? Bakvai refused to let Van Han leave. Without your warning, they would perish in no time. Van Han sighed softly, then. Am I telling them about evolution game? Am I making them participate in the experiment? It was hard choosing the relatively reliable ones, only veterans could achieve A. How do you save the others? You place the elderly in fatal situations, now with mere words, you rely on others to save them. Van Han softly remarked, is your mental state normal? Thinking others are gods, expecting to save them? Bakvai was speechless. I won't argue with you, you chose to forget, I was tricked here. Van Han smiled. Bakvai gasped, wanted to say something, but was interrupted. Your noble ideals, your grand goals, your difficult circumstances, go tell others, I don't want to hear. Van Han turned away, I didn't leave earlier because I thought some elderly could still be saved. Now knowing they are all sacrifices, saving them is meaningless. This is unavoidable sacrifice. Bakvai's eyes were firm, everything I do is for prolonging humanity. In short, I won't consider myself as a participant in this experiment, as if I never came. Van Han lazily refused to argue. Saying this, she immediately left. Bakvai did not stop her, knowing he could not. You have to go? Hearing Van Han was about to leave, No Bang panicked. Yes, do you want to go with me? Van Han asked. That's not good. The curses of the elderly cannot be undone. No Bang hesitated. Almost forgot, this fire only revealed part of the truth. Van Han simply explained the situation once, emphasizing, the elderly's curses were caused by the director. For the sake of humanity, she used the elderly as experiments, they volunteered. Curses mostly cannot be resolved, preventing accidents only prolongs life a few days, and interference may cause them to suffer more. No Bang was shocked, first reaction, people really volunteer? Is the director deceiving? It's real. Van Han told him, if someone lies in front of me, I can tell. This. No Bang could not respond. The situation was beyond his imagination. After all, he was an ordinary citizen, never seen such a situation. If you don't follow me now, later on your own, you might not survive. Van Han warned. No Bang struggled, finally decided, I'll go, I still want to try saving them. At least try a bit, saving one is one. Then gave her a string of numbers, here's my phone number, please call me in half a month. If safe, I'll answer. If unexpected happens, and I don't answer, report danger, saying I went missing along with the director. Even risking your life to save. Those elderly, is it worth it? Van Han softly asked, saving them from curses is very difficult, almost equivalent to creating a miracle. But miracles are called miracles because their probability is extremely low, negligible. The hardest part isn't predicting or avoiding accidents, but making the elderly save many themselves, and rescuing others. If they cannot rescue more than 10 at once to achieve a rating, all efforts are wasted. No Bang smiled, I am just a grandfather carrying elderly, no way to watch them die by age difference. Then if something happens, won't your elders be sad? Van Han asked. They passed away many years ago. No Bang said, I am free of concern, can wholeheartedly do what I want. Van Han looked at No Bang, suddenly realizing he was also a hero. I am a porter. Hashtag many years later, the old group gathered in prison, discovering they had the same worker. Hashtag, thanks to you. After leaving the nursing home, Van Han drove back to the rented house. Returning to the neighborhood, she froze in shock. She had only been away 4 days, yet it seemed like ages. The originally rented local house had turned into a heap of sand, gravel, and rubble. How did this happen? Van Han asked someone nearby. The shop assistant told her, the tenant tried to save money and used coal gas for cooking. Whether it was carelessness or something else, the coal exploded violently, leaving the building in ruins. Van Han was stunned. Bok Vi had indeed investigated many incidents, but some things only she herself knew. For example, her grandmother had once told her that a naturally born Vu woman would be drawn to accidents, without consciously approaching. Guiding humans away from disasters was the Vu woman's duty. She had never doubted whether this was true until her family members passed away one by one. Her mother had insisted on marrying and having children, but her father met with an unexpected accident and died. Her mother, unhappy and depressed, soon followed. Her grandmother had once loved someone. Not wanting to bring misfortune to the other, upon discovering her own pregnancy, she quietly left. By the time Van Han grew up, her grandmother said she was too tired and didn't want to live anymore. She began to wonder, for people of her family, was knowing death inevitable, or did it bring death? In the past, black crows were called death messengers. Because when a black crow cawed, the elderly nearby would soon die, resembling the reaper carrying someone away. But scientific research showed black crows were ordinary, and dying people with certain neck conditions caused misinterpretation. A crow's caw could simply mean time to eat. Crows are like this, so what about Vu women? Van Han thought for a long time and found no answer. She didn't even think philosophy classes at university could help. Yet this question was extraordinarily important to her, related to whether people close to her could die merely by proximity. Therefore, after graduation, even with a wealthy family, she kept a minimal resume, looked for jobs, and rented a place. Moreover, her job search differed from others. Wherever someone was willing to take her, she would go. The landlord only wanted to make money. Was that wrong? No. She only wanted to work and meet people more. Was that wrong? No. Everyone was purely human. Later, work brought many incidents. Sometimes it seemed that revealing events in a timely manner allowed colleagues to survive. The New World Hotel collapsed. A professional designer noted design data issues. Eventually it was bound to collapse. She happened to be in the main building before taking office, warned clients to evacuate, saving most people. Thus, performing her duties was undoubtedly correct. Yet sometimes she felt the incident report cited multiple causes: abnormal weather, old storage jars, and a mix of other factors causing a disaster. Without unusual weather, even old storage wouldn't cause such events. Hotel collapse reasons: design errors, incomplete construction, but still functional. She had been on the job only a month, the main building's excessive weight couldn't be handled, and incidents occurred randomly. In the end, whether drawn to accidents or unlucky places, no answer existed. Perhaps because this matter was crucial, even trusting her grandmother didn't allow easy conclusions. Maybe she dared risk her own life hundreds of times but wouldn't risk others' lives once. Overall, decisions were difficult, leaving an emptiness of uncertainty. Evolution game made matters more complex. Until today, Van Han thought, she could have avoided being drawn to the coal explosion, but due to busy work, she ended up encountering the accident, missing the rescue opportunity. Thus, it truly was physical accident attraction. Even without her, the coal still exploded violently. Just as the thought arose, Van Han felt uneasy. If she didn't allow others to face accidents, future companions living with her would be in danger? Randomly going on work trips, returning to find the house ruined. Bad luck, companions staying there also endangered. So complicated. Van Han gave up questioning. Temporarily unable to find suitable housing, she returned to her mansion for a while. At the mansion, snacking, Van Han resumed her job search. First, she updated her minimal resume and polished it slightly. Top-level work, the landlord became a small sugar toy, work covered. Upper-level work, the landlord entered a squat prison, architectural work self-destructed. General-level work, landlord still present, architecture sound, but future clients, elderly in the nursing home, would soon disappear. Such a vast record, if realistically written, Van Han wouldn't find a job in a year or two. So trimming and beautifying were necessary. For top work, written as sugar syrup incident, work closed, so she decided to change jobs. For top work, not even a month, landlord hadn't yet moved architecture, considered not generated, ignored. For top work, done 4 days, clients halved, remainder soon gone. Not written, only internal university experience, had auxiliary experience. Of course, if anyone saw this, wanting her for similar auxiliary work, not choosing Van Han's type, they would firmly refuse. She casually wrote a bit, enriching her resume, no other purpose. After revisions, the latest resume released, Van Han continued job hunting. Half a month later, Van Han picked up the phone on time. After a moment, the call connected. "It's me." The voice was No Bang's hoarse tone. "Are you No Bang himself?" Van Han asked. "Yes." No Bang replied. Her sixth sense felt no lie. Van Han relaxed. "No worries on my end." "Slow down." No Bang called back, hesitated, then sighed. "Sister, life really only rewards the truly good, eh? Not B, not C, no bargaining for survival." NK Books. Van Han froze. "You already knew?" "Yes." No Bang's tone exhausted. "Experiment over, only one old soldier survived, you saved the other." Van Han thought, planning internally. Meanwhile, self-rescuing elders were difficult, expecting them to save 10 people excluding themselves. Ignoring miracles, respecting facts, conclusion, impossible. "Can you tell me all this?" Van Han asked doubtfully. "No problem." No Bang didn't mind. "I stayed alone at the nursing home, not afraid, still allowed to tell you, against rules?" Van Han considered, "Then tell me." "After you left, directors suddenly instructed maximum self-rescue among the elderly, mutual aid." No Bang recalled carefully, mood worsened. "At first I didn't understand, even opposed. But I said nothing, everything followed director's orders. Elderly dying, suffering, many scared. Someone suggested leaving the home, returning home. Director refused, said leaving offended others. Elders didn't believe, united in protest, suppressed by staff. Sister, didn't you say all elders went voluntarily? Doesn't look like it to me. Two possibilities. Van Han thought, explaining, director trusted elders were willing, but they were deceived. Another possibility, initially willing, then facing death, they feared, regretted, unwilling. Who? No Bang sighed heavily. After a week, except one old soldier, none survived. I felt burning inside, power exploding, predicting accurately once. Saving many, I then understood the whole situation. Sister, you were right to leave. Watching each elder die, too hard to accept. Tell me, what's the purpose of this experiment? Can't just leave sick elders? Natural death is brutal. No Bang only watched beside her, felt mentally ill. The plan was to publicly alert society. Van Han said, but results show random alerts cause illegal fear of misfortune, only catching A or higher can neutralize it. No Bang's voice heavy. Then, for this, elders deserved tragic deaths? Interrogation leaves no turning back. Agreed from start, fear later, changing mind was impossible. Van Han sighed. I won't let them die in vain. No Bang's tone firm, hastily ended the call, as if urgent. Van Han stared at the disconnected phone, silent for a long time. The heroine wants to find work again. Fictional setting. Actual price unknown. I noticed wealthy people first recognizing abilities were not author names, but hereditary cover faces, dog head. This summer is really hot. Shu Lam looked out the room at the blazing sun, sucking on shaved ice, unable to help but sigh. Hot. What's there to fear? There's air conditioning inside. Shu Du said as he put watermelon and peach into the juicer. The machine roared, and soon a pool of watermelon juice overflowed. Will the watermelon be used up quickly? Shu Lam asked cautiously. Yes, let the new recruit handle it. Shu Du said. You have a young lady here, aren't you ashamed to let her handle it alone? Shu Lam said as he stood up, planning to head to the storage. Shu Du protested. I said I'd go with her. She said it's too hot and wanted me to rest, but she can handle it herself. I'm just being polite with you a bit, are you serious? Shu Lam scorned. Do it if you can, don't if you can't, what's there to be polite about? I can't even understand your words. Shu Du muttered. As the two were about to go to the storage, they saw Van Han dragging a sack of watermelons over. Shu Lam realized then that the new lady really was not being polite. She pulled a sack of watermelons and a sack of volleyballs with ease. But what weighs more, volleyballs or watermelons? How could one compare when placed together? Shu Lam stared straight. Watermelon juice sells more in summer, I took extra to make it easier. While speaking, Van Han stacked the watermelons neatly in the corner. Ah. Nah. Shu Du was a little stunned. Usually, organizing watermelons is his job. Shu Lam would help a bit, but mostly just assist. They knew that carrying extra at once is heavy. Impossible to move. Are you training your arm strength professionally? Shu Du asked curiously. I was born strong. Van Han smiled. That's good. Shu Lam became excited immediately. Usually, moving watermelons exhausts the two, but now with the new recruit's strength, it would be easier. Hard work, sit down and drink some watermelon juice. Shu Du enthusiastically poured a glass of chilled watermelon juice for the new recruit. Van Han, just arrived, hesitated slightly. Is this okay? Did the boss agree? No problem, no problem. Shu Lam waved his hand. Our boss is good, he said. Staff can drink freely while working. Just don't waste by half drinking, he doesn't mind. Van Han accepted the chilled juice, sipped. Delicious. Delicious? The boss knows the farmers. He said he cultivated this new type, very large and sweet. Shu Lam explained to the new staff, the boss also put in effort. Middle school education, used to farm in the countryside, then went to work. Saved money and built his career. Because the drinks are good and reasonably priced, he opened the third shop. Heard he bought a place and a car, and the kids were twins. Wow, Van Han exclaimed in surprise, showing respect. I came to work here because I heard staff could drink for free, and be full. Shu Lam said proudly, then looked at Van Han. What about you? Van Han answered simply and naturally, because this place wanted me. Shu Du. Hearing that sounded so pitiful, so miserable? No worries, he comforted, if you come here, everyone is like family. If there's something, speak up, everyone will help you. NK Books. Okay. Van Han nodded obediently. Work here is quite good. Though very busy at peak times, no one can take breaks at will. Shu Lam enthusiastically shared his experience. Just then, two customers walked in, one glass of chilled watermelon juice, one milk tea with ice, half sugar. All right. Shu Du busied himself. Before the juice and milk tea were prepared, 5 more customers entered, 2 chocolate shaved ice, 3 milk teas with ice. Van Han just arrived, many tasks still untrained, temporarily stood aside. Shu Lam took charge, helping Shu Du with the workload. As soon as these customers left, more entered. For an hour and a half, they rushed around without a proper break. I need to sit a bit. Shu Lam felt his hands were not his own. Why so many people today? When problems couldn't be solved, they turned to the internet. Van Han checked her phone. Online says because of extreme heat, the electrical grid is overloaded. Some areas may have power cuts. What? Shu Lam was stunned. What era is this? Power cuts? Really, it's reported everywhere online. Van Han said. I'll check. Shu Lam didn't believe it, had to see for himself. After checking, it was even worse than Van Han described. The Electric Authority requested households limit electricity use. Air conditioning should not be on full, must set above 27 degrees. Washing machines and ovens with high power should be avoided if possible. If residents do not follow, blackouts could occur, leading to disaster. Crazy, crazy. Shu Lam muttered repeatedly. Will the shop also lose power? Shudu panicked. Ice maker, air conditioning, we use a lot. If power cuts, nothing works. Van Han replied, commercial and industrial use won't be affected temporarily. Shudu felt relieved, so working hours won't be affected. But thinking further, what about home? Oven, rice cooker, air conditioning, all high power, can't use? Basically that's right. Van Han nodded. How can I work 24 hours? Shudu pondered. Stay calm, will you? Shu Lam looked at Van Han. Van Han explained, house has backup power, generator. Shu Lam felt relieved, right, backup power at home. I bought one too. Ordered online quickly, seamless delivery. Shudu had planned to buy as well, checked the phone, silently put it away. I'll stay 24 hours at the dorm, not for AC, just enjoy the work. In the afternoon, customers decreased, and the three finally could catch their breath. Come, take out the trash, also check the route. Shu Lam said, signaling Van Han. Lazy as usual. Shudu sighed, didn't expose her, just said, go early, return early. Hear that? Quickly. Shu Lam urged. Van Han followed. This is where trash is usually disposed locally. Ah, why is this car parked here? Doesn't it block the road? Shu Lam complained. Van Han glanced inside. Saw a girl around 2 or 3 years old on the back seat, face flushed, breathing heavily, looked uncomfortable. At the same time, Shu Lam noticed something, panicked, what? All windows closed, summer sun blazing in, car heating up fast, in hours the child will suffocate. How can the guardian not notice, the child trapped inside? I need to call for help. She took out her phone. Too late. Van Han suddenly said. In her sight, a dense black fog covered the girl, almost engulfing her. Text appeared, estimated death in 6 minutes 48 seconds. Ah. Shu Lam, still dialing, was startled. Van Han quickly took black leather gloves from her bag, put them on. She grabbed the girl's hands, suddenly crystallized. Snap. The crystal shattered. The security system immediately sounded alarm, piercing police sirens. Van Han ignored it, opened the car door, carried the girl out. Black fog gradually dispersed, countdown vanished. Phone in hand, Shu Lam recounted events, and police quickly arrived. She applied cold packs to the girl's face to reduce temperature, scolding, how can you move so fast? What if someone was watching nearby? Randomly tampering with car window, could you have been accused? Her questions showed real worry. I didn't think it would be so many. Van Han scanned around, no one seemed to be watching. Besides, I saved her, he won't be upset, right? Shu Lam thought that was true. So they stood there, waiting for police. Surprisingly, police didn't come, but a couple ran up first. I heard the alarm. How did the car window get tampered? Who did it? I did. Van Han stepped forward, no thanks needed. You broke into my crystal car window, and you still want me to thank you? Are you insane? The woman shouted angrily. What do you see but the car? Chu Lam replied in dissatisfaction. Isn't that enough? The woman put her hands on her hips. Let me tell you, this car of mine is brand new, costing over 100,000. Compensation, if necessary compensation, no compensation no report. Chu Lam ignored her. No trouble for you, I already called the police. Seems not the biological daughter, but traffickers. Van Han nodded. From now on, no one should go, I'll wait here for the police. The woman only then realized Van Han, held in her chest, was her adopted daughter. She could not believe it and looked at her husband. How is the daughter in the car? Don't know. The husband looked innocent. Over 40 degrees weather, car windows tightly closed, the car stopped in a corner, no one passes, don't know? Chu Lam snorted coldly. Although the woman found it strange, she still exclaimed, we didn't do it on purpose. Exactly. NK Books. The husband nodded, just a momentary lapse. Chu Lam tilted his head to Van Han to discuss, if it wasn't intentional, what then? Van Han shook her head, still wait for the police. The police will not blame us. The woman spoke boldly, she is my daughter. One carelessness, can't see the pillar, do you want to lock us up? Perhaps. Chu Lam thought, this year new stage regulations do not allow harming minors, parents failing to supervise may also face legal responsibility. Impossible? You lie. The woman stamped her feet in anger. Chu Lam rolled his eyes, who lied? Don't believe it, check online. In recent years, many unintended deaths, now they pay more attention to minors under 18, ensuring their healthy growth. This. The couple glanced at each other, both slightly panicked. Chu Lam, feeling more uneasy, said intentionally, I heard the police recently got lie detectors, accuracy 100%. Cannot lie at all, lies are detected immediately. Not the biological daughter, but adopted is fine? The woman, anxious and scared, finally corrected herself. The husband's eyes slightly avoided hers, truly unintended. I thought about adopting a boy again, but did not intend to harm her. She is my daughter. Could not harm her. Anything good to eat or drink, I bought it for her. Chu Lam. Who spoke without beating? Exactly then, the police arrived. Who called the alert? Me. Chu Lam raised his hand and explained everything again. The police saw the couple's expressions were off, only saw car window broken. Is the child inside? First time as parents, too careless. The husband suppressed his emotions, smiled, and made amends. The woman gasped, we are legitimate adopters. With adoption certificate. Until now, treated her well, today just carelessness. Go to the police department to report. The police took the couple, then received Van Han, holding her in their arms. What will happen to the child? Chu Lam watched anxiously. Sent to Welfare Institute, funded by the state, raise her until 18. The police explained, this year's new regulations, the budget ensures children without guardians are properly cared for, you need not worry too much. That's good. Chu Lam exhaled gently. The police looked at Van Han, will you come with us? Yes. Van Han agreed. Chu Lam was uneasy, thinking to go along. The man is lying, he cannot run. Van Han advised, Chudu cannot handle so much alone, you go back first. Chu Lam agreed, watched Van Han leave with the police. Player succeeded at instance 115,644, child inside car suffocated accidentally event rescued a human, rated C, reward attributes, strength plus 0.1, stamina plus 0.1. Unintended? Clearly an assassination attempt. The thought just arose, Van Han realized assassination attempts could also be treated like an instance. The husband, perhaps first time doing wrong, facing police, asked directly, a little pressure and the facade crumbled. First time adopting, I thought to take a boy, the old lady refused, said daughter is cherished, glanced and saw that girl. Later I mentioned raising a boy, old lady said already have daughter, too much trouble, cannot raise a second. That noon, don't know why, the idea lingered, if not for this girl, we could adopt a son again. So I. The next words he did not say, but others understood clearly. The woman looked at her husband in disbelief. You intended to raise a boy, why not tell me properly? Randomly say a sentence, then silent, how could I know your true intentions? If such a petty child were harmed, are you still human? The husband insisted, if you hadn't refused, how would this happen? In the end, all is your fault. Both argued at the police department. Meanwhile, Van Haan recorded her statement, exaggerated, seeing the child in danger, she broke the window to save. As a good citizen, she was quickly released. Before leaving, police educated her, next time encounter such situation, report immediately, do not intervene alone. Understood. Van Haan obediently nodded. But if encountering this again, only minutes left, with the child unable to self-rescue, would she dare again? Back in the shop, Chudu looked resentfully, you still know to come back? To cooperate with the police, review the statement. Van Haan explained. What about the couple? Chu Lam asked anxiously. The woman education review, the man likely faces few years imprisonment. Van Haan said. Good. Chu Lam spoke angrily, all they did, half a lifetime locked in prison deserved. This year many new regulations, if you hadn't mentioned, I wouldn't know. Van Haan casually commented. Chu Lam sighed, very strange, many new policies this year, especially increased safety education incidents. I watched online videos, 10 minutes of TV drama, 1-minute animated safety education. That safety education, even ghosts would jump, members not yet used. Feels like learning safety education while sneaking glimpses at TV. Then I recalled school days, each break controlled by safety education fear. No matter how said, lack of judgment still acted, honestly touching avoided, but everyone listened together. Mostly, this safety education covers everything. From fire to flood, earthquake to stampede, food poisoning to falling objects, natural gas explosion to heat stroke. How to handle. How to rationally rescue self and others. How safely wait for rescue. All explained. This feeling is, in this life cannot fully use intelligence, repeats recklessly. The miraculous part is, it worked. When I saw that case, recalled extreme heat leaving a child alone in a car easily causes suffocation death. Meeting you, that child's life should not end. Chudu actually did not get angry, just went out to throw trash, some frustration. Hearing they saved someone, things turned, quick collect, evening batch arrived, finishing this week in close. Chu Lam teased, didn't say 24 hours to stay? I actually thought so. Chudu laughed, business uses much electricity? If no trading, AC only for me, boss shouldn't grieve to death? Three chatted and laughed, a day passed. Next morning, Chudu, eyes like pandas, went to work. Chu Lam stunned, what's this? Couldn't sleep well at night. Chudu looked haggard, weather too depressing, tossed on bed, couldn't sleep. Then really couldn't bear, turned on AC. Just comfortable for a moment, landlord cuts power, AC shuts automatically, wake up and heat. Power still not on, tired, hot, depressed, finally not sure slept through or fainted. Heavens! Chu Lam felt listening to a disaster documentary, unreal. Events seemed on TV or news, distance from own life far. Rent electricity similar, family using electricity expensive. So calculated, they really cut power. Chudu could not believe modern urban reality, later I go buy electric fan at supermarket, low power, might be better. Electric fan hungry for power cuts frequent, could help him through long night. Go buy. Now. Van Haan reminded, early morning saw many rush for fans, outside supermarket long line. Worst case, stock insufficient. Chudu felt urgency, ran quickly to supermarket. I go, you watch store. Let's go. Chu Lam waved, then turned to remind Van Han, if landlord comes, tell Chudu to throw trash. Van Han obediently nodded, understood. Readers calculated, no need to face author explanation, best to leave. Facing other authors not friendly, easily cause emo. Main topic is leadership, some authors willing to produce quality content, love them. Basically, everywhere Yuan like her, yet meeting shy families similar. Change perspective to wonder, if readers said so, I would get angry. Chudu managed to get there just in time, snatching one of the last few electric fans for sale. After shopping, he ran back into the shop, put on his uniform, transformed into a temporary worker, and started his good day of work. The weather was unbearably hot. Being outside, one could feel the swirling waves of heat in the air, as if being in a sauna. Because of this, people bought a lot of iced drinks. Van Han, Chu Lam, and Chudu hurriedly moved around, while outside the crew still had veteran staff, not encountering any sudden issues. Iced drinks, shaved ice blocks, anything with ice points was unusually welcomed. Chu Lam pondered life, was choosing this career path really right back then? How did it turn into such a mess so fast? Just then, a customer hurriedly asked, do you sell ice blocks? Can you sell me some directly? Chu Lam was dumbfounded, stunned, and said, sorry, we don't sell ice blocks individually. Then 3 cups of mung bean shaved ice, extra ice. The customer emphasized dramatically. Chu Lam understood silently, giving this customer extra shaved ice unusually. Thank you. The customer grabbed the shaved ice, didn't open it to drink, but pressed it to their face with the ice pack bag, then hurried out. What's going on? Chu Lam was annoyed. But she didn't have time to think about it. Customers came into the shop like a tide, each noisy, wanting ice drinks. After 3 hours, they finally stopped. Chu Lam quickly prepared the drinks, exhausted, leaned on the table, sighing from the heart, I shouldn't have casually drunk drinks before coming here to work. Then 3 female customers came in. 1 milk tea with ice, 1 cold sour plum drink, 1 cold watermelon juice. All right, 1 moment. Chudu held his position steadily, diligently working. Chu Lam whispered, isn't this work time? Don't you have to go to work? 1 female customer laughed, we are going to work, but the power was cut in our area, and we are fixing it urgently. The air conditioning doesn't work, desktop computers shut down automatically, what can we do at the company? Might as well come get a drink, feel the AC and quench our thirst. Another teased, besides, we're willing to stay, the boss doesn't want it. If it gets too hot, heatstroke might happen, plus labor accidents to consider. Chu Lam looked even more despondent. In the extreme heat, people bringing drinks, she wanted to collapse herself, such disparity. Not only us, even in the nearby block, they cut electricity. Earlier a female customer said, I heard an old man turned on the AC to nap, halfway through the power cut. The old man wasn't alert and fainted, family ran to call an ambulance. Not only that, more happened. A companion added, many elderly in the block, some in poor health, using respirators. When the power went out, respirators didn't work. I heard the family also called, ambulances arrived, 2 households were almost in serious trouble. After hearing, Chudu's first reaction was, doesn't the refrigerator also stop working? Food stored there, wouldn't it spoil? No solution if it breaks. The female customer sighed, the power supply can't provide electricity, what can residents do now? Before, everything was insured, everyone had power, could overcome difficulties. Now they cut it, problems arise, being repaired urgently. Your drinks are good. 1 female customer grabbed a cup and left smiling. Chu Lam was shocked, such a situation really can't be helped? Van Han waved her phone, latest news, outside, the temperature hit 45 degrees, power outage in the area caused infants to faint. Chudu stayed silent, muttering to himself after a while, this is trying to drive people crazy. Chu Du thought he understood the seriousness of the situation, but back at the rented house, he realized he still underestimated it. Plugging the electric fan at home, it blew immediately, yet, why is it all hot air? The room felt worse. The fan seemed to blow all the heat directly. NK books. The extreme heat caused chest tightness, no relief from the fan. Chu Du lay stubbornly on the bed, trying to sleep, yet 40 minutes passed, he remained awake. Crazy, really about to go crazy. With no choice, Chu Du turned on the air conditioner. Cool air blew directly, heat and stuffiness dispersed. But after a few minutes, bang, the circuit tripped. Chu Du, luckily, his area wasn't scheduled for power cut. He turned the power back on, restarted the fan, and finally slept soundly. Early the next morning, he rushed out to work. At the door, the landlord stopped him, received notice. The electric company said starting next month, electricity fees will be charged per unit. The landlord showed her stance. Chu Du's forehead veins popped. Any electrical use tripped the circuit, now fees are rising, outrage. He didn't say a word. The landlord continued, you know how much the electric company charges me, I charge you accordingly. Hurry, don't be late for work, or salary will be deducted. After that, she left. Chu Du gritted his teeth. During lunch break, the three took turns resting. Chu Lam went out for food, returned with Van Han horse. Yesterday, a nearby supermarket lost power for hours, then restored. Chilled food wasn't fresh. The supermarket decided to throw it away. Many people surrounded to snatch it. In midsummer, after a power cut, can that food even be eaten? Van Han doubted. Apparently yes. Chu Lam wasn't sure either. I saw many people snatching. Chu Du couldn't sit still. Time for my break. He quickly ran out. Hey, don't go! Van Han saw thick gray mist suddenly around Chu Du. She tried to stop him, but he ran off. There was nothing to do, he didn't listen. What's going on? Chu Lam wondered. A bad premonition. Van Han said. The gray mist was just minor injuries, not life-threatening. She simply couldn't stop him. Chu Lam intrigued. You have a sixth sense? Yes. Van Han nodded. Not common, but when it happens, it's accurate. Wow, Chu Lam gasped, realizing it was inappropriate. Your sixth sense wants to stop him from going out? Van Han shrugged. Chu Lam, did I talk too much, risk harming him? Chu Du arrived. The supermarket was indeed discarding items, and many people were picking through them. Seeing this, he joined directly. Chu Du avoided locals, picking only quality food. Kid, this is our turf. Leave, the stuff stays here. 3 ruffians surrounded him, eyes full of hostility. So much food, are you staring at others' bowls? Chu Du didn't want trouble, planned to grab the chosen items and leave. The other didn't relent. I told you, can you go and leave the stuff here? Chu Du replied, no. The ruffians, feeling insulted, couldn't hide it. The leader signaled. 2 younger ones charged at Chu Du. Chu Du considered himself skilled in fighting, didn't panic. But the opponents were fast and strong. He dodged one, got hit by another on the face. Chu Du fell to the ground. Rotten kid, with no skill, still arrogant. The ruffians laughed. The supermarket manager ran over, shouting, Stop, stop. Stopping the fight, he turned angrily, Don't pick. This is spoiled food, cannot eat. Everyone was shocked. Someone asked, Isn't it slightly expired but still edible? Ha! I heard it was just past expiration. I knew the power was cut for a few hours, so we threw out the food. Not yet rotten, filthy stuff. If eaten, could go to hospital, don't pick. The manager stressed again. Damn, what a mess. Chaos, can't eat. The ruffians laughed. Chu Du was speechless. The main point, he chose himself, no harm if he hadn't gone. Chu Du wiped his mouth, got up, and walked back step by step. Chu Lam was uneasy, trying to appear strong, asked Van Han, could your sixth sense have misjudged this time? Van Han said nothing, just watched. Shu Lam lowered her head. Really didn't misjudge? Van Han refused to explain. Shu Lam paced, occasionally looking outside. Just then, Shu Du returned with a facial injury. Shu Lam flinched, feeling pangs of guilt. How did it end up like this? Van Han asked. Don't ask. Shu Du's face dark, he recounted everything. Hearing the supermarket threw spoiled food, Shu Lam felt uneasy, murmuring, hot weather, why rush to snatch? Getting into conflict. Shu Du chuckled, to save money. He explained his rent and electricity situation, salary is already low, pay part to the household monthly. Hot weather, AC must be on. If electricity fees rise again, I won't have money for meals. Speaking of which, Van Han took out her phone, city water treatment plant has issues, then regional water supply may have problems. Your rented block is on this list? Shu Du, seeing this, was stunned, included. What shocking news! No AC, now water can't even be used? Shu Du tried to stay calm, is the faucet dry? No, Van Han agreed, dirty water comes out, untreated, people are complaining online. Shu Du lost his calm. Exhausted, worn out, destroyed. Supermarket conflicts were real events in the US. The cause was media miscommunication, making spoiled food, inedible, seem like free food, edible, to give away. Water plant issues were also in the US, untreated dirty water for washing is real, people reportedly must close their mouths when bathing. Rushing one day, on the way home after going out, Shu Lam originally planned to take a cold shower to feel refreshed, but after showering she saw that the front was still dirty. She thought she was just washing rice and cooking, eating, and the super tiny bacteria would take her to the hospital. Shu Lam slightly imagined, already scared to the point of trembling. What era is this? No one in the village is like this. She sincerely suggested to Shu Du, change the place to live. I actually also want to change. Shu Du rubbed his hair in failure, it's just finding a room, checking rooms, it takes quite a lot of time. Considering price and convenience, I don't have much budget. Shu Lam hesitated, then made up her mind, if not, you can rent a room in my house. Shu Du looked up in astonishment, your house has a room for rent? My house is in the countryside, previously bought a plot of land, I spent a bit of money to build a building there. Later I divided each floor into several single rooms, bought some second-hand furniture, and rented them out. Shu Lam explained, currently not full, a few rooms available. Though far from the center, decoration isn't exquisite, but it's affordable and convenient, electricity and water normal, compared to where you live now it's convenient. Shu Du took half a day to understand what Shu Lam meant. His expression a bit strange, didn't expect you're still a renter. Didn't hear you mention before? Shu Lam looked at the sky, before, it was my parents, I was just a helper. Cheat me? Shu Du whistled, having money at home and not having money feel different. My house isn't in debt, each month I support. Your parents not giving allowance, at least not taking your salary. With property at home, monthly salary can be spent freely, even spent all is fine. That's right. Shu Lam admitted, I support myself every month. Great. Shu Du showed admiration. After work today, come see the rooms with me, okay? Shu Lam suggested. Sure. Shu Du decisively agreed. Shu Lam turned to Van Han, you? Is your current place still fine? Want to come along? I want to change my place too. Van Han actively agreed, I'll go. So everything was settled. At 3 in the afternoon, the upper shift started on time, the 3-person group ended early, Shu Du asked, going how? Shu Lam expressed, I'll drive and take you. Shu Du? His face startled, when did you buy a car? Shu Lam embarrassedly turned away, used to walk to work. My parents saw the distance far, public transport inconvenient, so bought it for me. Shu Du puzzled, never told before? Shu Lam, because close to the street, 5 minutes walk to the shop. Working for others, not convenient to show off, so hit it. Shu Du silent. Shu Lam continued, before working elsewhere, colleagues knew I had rooms to rent, always discussed. Changing jobs and environment, I didn't want everyone to know, so hid it a bit, not intentionally from you. Okay, no need to explain, I understand. Shu Du, just hearing this, was startled, but thinking of her usual behavior, it didn't seem poor, so he calmed down. Where's the car? Let's go. This way, follow me. Shu Lam led, Shu Du and Van Han followed, turning left and right. Soon, they arrived at the parking lot. This is it. Shu Lam used the key to open the door, told them, get in. On the way, Shu Lam drove, introducing, you can take subway, about 30 minutes. Can also ride bike to transfer station. Traffic is convenient. Van Han said. Shu Du remained silent, thinking, go check the rooms first and see surroundings. Yes, take your time, if you don't like it, don't rent. Shu Lam didn't mind. Actually, if not for Shu Du's curiosity, she wouldn't have mentioned rooms for rent. People going to work and finishing work have their own activities, no need to contact. Still, having said this, no need to hide, comfortably lead the tour, whether they rent or not is up to them. Thinking so, Shu Lam drove home. 20 minutes later. Arrived. Shu Lam said. Shu Du got off, saw a supermarket nearby, very convenient for daily shopping. The street had many small restaurants, eating convenient, not far, also a pharmacy, need medicine, nearby. Shu Du hadn't spoken, but already inclined. Shu Lam stopped the car, said, let's go see the rooms, this is the building, my house. Shu Du tried to stay calm, but 3 seconds later, amazing. Going upstairs, a bunch of kids ran out, almost bumped. Told you not to run towards me. Shu Lam scolded, then went upstairs. Van Han saw, each kid had a timer from 22 to 30 minutes. What are you doing? She blocked the way, not letting the kids go. Go swimming. A chubby one shouted. Master said swimming is dangerous, kids can't go alone. Van Han sternly said. 6 kids, eyes wide, we are 6, not alone. 6 together also not allowed, need adult supervision. Van Han said, no swimming, change activity. Shu Lam heard, remembered Shu Du got hurt before, worried, quickly said, heard? No swimming. Dare to sneak, I'll tell your mother. 6 kids embarrassed, got it. All right, go play. Shu Lam waved her hand. Van Han saw the kids' fear, stepped aside, followed Shu Lam upstairs. Boss, since we can't swim, what to play? Chubby one asked. You're silly. Sneak away, not caught is enough. Tall head huffed, others teased, coward. I'm not. Chubby red, let's go. Rooms have 2 types. One has no window, private bathroom, kitchenette, small fridge. Shu Lam turned on water, clean, nearby power not cut. Washing machine in hallway, shared, one own, buy-in room. AC second-hand, if broken tell me, I'll arrange repair. Electric and water prepaid, use more deduct more, need furniture, add, can return later. Other type has windows, better light, higher rent, but you don't need, so not brought you. Shu Du pleased, asked price. Shu Lam gave numbers. Shu Du calculated, though 200 more than previous place, living quality different. Though using local money, little for meals,
NK
not extra
books.
for good rooms, thinking of power cut, dirty water, doesn't fear eating less, wants to escape bad place. Thinking so, Shu Du said, rent this, sign contract. Van Han also said, I'll rent too, want window. Good, I'll get contract. Before finishing, from outside came crying, help. They're in water. Save them. Shu Lam heard, wasn't it chubby kid's voice? She opened window, shouted, not allowed to swim. Boss said, sneak, not caught, chubby scared, crying. Shu Lam rubbed forehead, still worried. Don't sign contract, go save them," Van Han said while running down. Hearing kids drowning, adults with Chubby led the way. Chubby crying, ran, pointed, there. 5 kids in water, some inhaled water. Adults anxious. One who can swim took off clothes and jumped to rescue. Over there, over there. On shore guided, swimmer ignored, swam. Ah, rescue fast. One at a time. Neighbor tugged sleeve, whispered, furthest house, rescue own first. Swimmer silent, swam far, pulled kids back, handed to caretaker, swam again to rescue. Quick, CPR. Rescuer pressed a few times, kids reacted, spat water, opened eyes. All fine, all fine. Chubby saw friends rescued, Oe, cried relieved. Swimmer rescued 2 more kids, quick, CPR. Shu Lam 3 arrived just in time. Shu Lam asked Swimmer, you're okay? Can you handle? Swimmer, no problem, I can do. Jumped in again. Shu Lam looked around, asked, no one else can swim? Anyone help lift kids? I'll go. At critical moment, Shu Du jumped in to help.